From the Grey Cup city of Hamilton, TSN presents the Stampeders and Ticats. Along with Lee Pedersen. It's been like this most of the afternoon. Showers in the forecast, but they should hold off until after game time. It's a warm, muggy night in southern Ontario, but the field for now is dry. The Stampeders and the Ticats get set to meet for the second time this season. Calgary won the first meeting in Calgary. Wally Buono's team is on fire once again. At 6-1 coming into this game, the Stampeders are on their usual early season roll. Don Southern has seen his team endure a spat of injuries, the likes of which he has never seen before. 10 changes he's had to make since his team met the Montreal Alouettes last week.
Making it, change he had to make in his coaching staff this week too, to get a new offensive coordinator to put in a little more protection for players like Matt Dunnigan, who will sit this one out tonight. Well documented, his concussions, and they are still doing tests on him. He had an MRI, I believe, today, and we'll wait and hear what the results are of that. But a pretty scary situation for Matt right now.
And you saw Matt Dunnigan congratulating the man who will start at quarterback for the Hamilton Ticats tonight, Larry Justanis. But the focus here in Hamilton in the last few days has been very much on Matt Dunnigan, and the fact that his future may be in jeopardy. Matt Dunnigan's CFL career may very well be in jeopardy due to the concussion he suffered against the BC Lions. But right now, the Hamilton Ticats will kick it off to the Calgary Stampeders. Kelvin Anderson and Melvin Coleman are back deep. And this is Marvin Coleman from the 22-yard line. Trying to find some room to run. He's forced back to the inside. Coleman gets out to the 35, and that's where the Stampeders will start. The starting lineup's brought to you by Corral, and at quarterback, 26-year-old Jeff Garcia, 14-2 as the Calgary Stampeders starting quarterback over the past 2 seasons. One change in the receiving corps. Bernard Holmes, number 9, draws in place of an injured Calgary wide receiver Travis Moore, and the offensive line has allowed only 6 quarterback sacks, best in the Canadian Football League. On first down, the give goes to Kelvin Anderson. The lone back gets out to the 40-yard line. A pickup of 5 yards.
And Gord, Jeff Garcia will be working against the Hamilton defense. It's made a lot of changes. One of the pluses is to have Mike Campbell back. He had 5 sacks in 4 games before he had a foot injury. Donovan Wright moves to the middle linebacker this week, and 2 changes in the secondary with Jay Phillips and Jason Kaiser both getting their first starts. They have been in dime and nickel situations this year, but first time they have started in the secondary.
Calgary goes to the 5-receiver set. Jeff Garcia tries the quarterback draw and gets out to the 45-yard line. He'll be very close to a Calgary first down. Garcia averaging 7.4 yards a carry this season.
And interesting that he goes to a quarterback draw early in this game with Donovan Wright starting at middle linebacker, playing out of position, normally an outside linebacker with so many injuries. Tim Brown now is out. That Donovan Wright does start in the middle, and Garcia goes right at him with the quarterback draw and is close to the first down.
Jeff Garcia is coming off his worst start as a CFL quarterback. Last week he was held to just 203 yards passing in the game in BC, the fewest in his 16 CFL starts.
I'll tell you, that BC defense, when they bring all kinds of people, they can really get a quarterback out of the rhythm. I mean, they let you get the big play sometimes too, but I'm not surprised that he had a tough game against them.
3rd and inches. The Stampeders have not given the ball away on downs yet this season, and they're gambling on 3rd down here. Garcia takes it straight ahead, loses the football. It's still loose, but the Ticats have it. Jeff Garcia on the 3rd down gamble loses the football. Scooped up by Joe Montfort, and the Ticats take advantage of the game's first turnover.
Pretty good shot coming over the top. Tom Gerhardt was in there. Rob Hitchcock, 42. Watches they meet. It's Hitchcock, 42, over the top. He gets the pop on Garcia. The ball comes loose. Montfort has a chance to pick it up right there. But Ticats eventually will come up with the fumble recovery. I believe it's number 9. Actually, it's 97, Jesse Small.
From the 46-yard line, the Ticats begin their first possession with 25-year-old Larry Justanis at the control. Calgary shows blitz and shows it a little too soon. George Black is tonight's referee, and offside appears to be the call against the Stampeders. And Marvin Pope told us before the game he wanted to get after the quarterback. He was a bit quick.
Offside, Calgary number 91.
So now brings up 1st and 5 for the Hamilton Ticats, and excellent field position and a nice situation for the Ticats to be in early.
Well, it's a good spot for Larry Justanis, you know, to get his feet wet with this kind of field position and a 1st and 5 situation, as you mentioned.
3 receivers to the wide side of the field on 1st and 5. Justanis in the shotgun, gives it off to Tony Stewart, and the former Calgary Stampeder dives down to the 32-yard line. This Hamilton offense is led at quarterback by Larry Justanis, who takes over in place of the injured Matt Dunnigan and Anthony Calvillo. He went to Glendale High School, which is about 10 minutes from Ivor Stadium, a Hamilton native. He's joined in the backfield by Tony Stewart, the former Stampeder, and Ted Long. And Matt Cody returns to the receiving corps for the Hamilton Ticats after missing a game last week. The offensive line anchored by Miles Gurrell, the 40-year-old whose CFL career began with the Calgary Stampeders back in 1978.
Boy, and this is an offensive line that really is going to have their hands full. Calgary Stampeders come into this game the best at sacking the quarterback with 23. So, you know, that was definitely one of the keys we mentioned, and Bob Abilovich alluded to that. Really a lot of pressure on this offensive line.
Stewart got 4 at 2nd and 1. Early movement again. Justanis dives ahead. Flags are down on the play, and Larry Justanis may have drawn the Calgary Stampeders off again. That time it looked like Will Johnson jumped.
Offside, Calgary number 77. 1st down.
Well, they flagged Rodney Harding, but it doesn't seem to matter. And look at the Hamilton Ticats. After the fumble and 2 penalties, they've got the ball 1st and 10 at the Calgary 27-yard line. Larry Justanis got a big hand from this Hamilton crowd when he was introduced before the game and admitted to me yesterday very nervous about making his first CFL start in front of some 26 friends and family. On 1st down, Justanis looking for time to throw. Trying to get away, is able to, throws it up the sidelines, and yes, he makes the catch. Justin Phillips makes the catch up at the 11-yard line.
Well, this is a heck of a job by Larry Justanis to get away from the pressure again from Gonzalo Floyd right here. Just when you think he's going to say, hey, I'm just going to get out of bounds and get this play over with, he hangs in, he sees Harding coming, but he's still willing to take the hit to complete the pass to Jason Phillips. Phillips with a heck of an effort to stay in bounds. I mean, this is a nice way you want to start the game for a young rookie quarterback.
Jason Phillips with a gain of 15 takes it down to the 11-yard line. And Justanis is back to the shotgun. They fake the drop play now to Tony Stewart. Justanis has room to run, but he's tripped up at the 10-yard line, brought down by the veteran Will Johnson.
Yeah, Will Johnson's so good at taking that outside leverage to force the quarterback back to the inside. Rodney Harding now with the Calgary Stampeders. One change tonight, Marvin Pope moves from linebacker to defensive end, and Anthony McClanahan gets to start at the outside linebacking spot. And this is a tough secondary, 15 interceptions, leads the league. And Jackie Kellogg isn't even in the starting lineup. He's their nickel back. He may be the best defensive back that they have.
Now 2nd down from the 10-yard line for Justanis and the Ticats. And again, play is called before the snap, and it may be a time count violation against the Ticats.
Hamilton number 8.
And again, you know, a young quarterback, and nobody knows that more than Don Southern. You get down in the red zone, you have a terrific opportunity to start the game on a positive note after the Calgary turnover and a rookie mistake by taking the time count violation. Now, in all fairness to Justanis, they are sending plays in from Mike Kerrigan about half the time, and, you know, that does take a little bit of time.
And here are some of the things the Ticats are facing tonight. This is an offense that has been very unbalanced to the pass.
Not a lot of good stuff in that list right there.
Now 2nd and 14. Justanis, quick drop. Wants to go to the end zone. Has a man, Winfield. And can't make the catch. Working on Eddie Davis in the corner of the end zone. Earl Winfield, who caught the first touchdown pass Larry Justanis threw in the Canadian Football League, couldn't haul it down here.
And it's a good test early for Hamilton. They do a nice job setting up the pocket for Larry Justanis. He has all kinds of time to find a receiver, but he got fooled by the coverage. That's a rolled-up corner zone down in deep in scoring territory. You don't see that very often, but they really fooled him, and he hesitated just a bit. Once Winfield cleared the corner, Al Jordan, the ball shouldn't have been in the air, and I don't think Larry Justanis was expecting to see that kind of defense, and I know that Calgary's going to do that to him early, confuse him.
He got a nice hand, got his way off the field, giving way to Paul Osbaldiston in the field goal unit from the 22-yard line. Osbaldiston is good, so the Ticats get 3 off the Calgary turnover, having an early lead on the Calgary Stampeders at Ivor Wynne Stadium tonight.
That's what it's about, dog. Pulling the trigger, make it happen, man.
Matt Dunnigan talking over Larry Justanis, the all-time leading passer.
Guys, Sonny Wolf, stay Brett, stay Heath, stay Cater, all the boys in Wolf.
Have you ever seen that? I've never seen a quarterback saying hi to people during a game before.
No,
He's loose. You got to hit him that.
He's just enjoying the moment. We'll see what it's like in a couple of hours from now.
Well, Matt Dunnigan used to smile like that about 3,000 hits ago. Here's Kelvin Anderson on the kickoff return for Calgary. Flags are down, and so is Anderson up to the 45-yard line. A 27-yard kickoff return for Kelvin Anderson, the Calgary Stampeders starting tailback. And Wally Buono, like many coaches, rotates the kickoff returners to try to keep his guys fresh with the smaller rosters. And the Calgary Stampeders victimized early by penalties and turnovers.
Holding, Calgary number 3.
Jackie Kellogg is called for holding, so Jeff Garcia and the Calgary offense will start from their own 30-yard line. Well, there are 11 turnovers, now 12 after fumbling the ball in their opening possession, but the Calgary Stampeders are once again putting up amazing offensive numbers. From the 30, the toss goes to Kelvin Anderson, trying to bring it back in, and nothing doing. Stopped up there by Mike Campbell and Keith Emray. Mike Campbell back in the lineup after missing 3 games. Don Sutherland said he'd be a key return to this Hamilton defense.
Well, pretty solid play by Hamilton. You got Rocco Romano. He's pulling from the left side around the corner, but Hamilton reads this one quickly, and they're right up. It's a counter with Romano, but somehow it just takes too long to develop, and Hamilton all over it with Mike Philbrick and Mike Campbell.
The loss was 2. Now Garcia from the shotgun. Up over the middle and has his man. It's complete up there to Vince Danielson, and Danielson should have a Calgary first down. First completion of the game for Jeff Garcia goes to Vince Danielson, the former quarterback from the UBC Thunderbirds.
A good read by Jeff Garcia. You see the arm strength that he has. I mean, as soon as Danielson's in the hole, that ball is in the air, and before he even gets there, nice read, and Vince Danielson making a contribution. This still really is a 5-pack offense. I mean, most of the time Danielson will be in as that 5th receiver.
And they're in the 5 receiver set now on first down. Garcia has lots of time looking for Vaughn and has him working on Don Robinson. Terry Vaughn has the catch and is close to another Calgary first down.
And that's a good matchup tonight. Terry Vaughn off to a terrific start. That's his 25th catch on the year. There you see his numbers a year ago compared to now. But he's averaging over 21 yards of reception. And Don Robinson just happens to be the best ball hawk in the Hamilton secondary with 4 picks. So that's a nice matchup to watch tonight, Terry Vaughn and Don Robinson.
The first down just shy of midfield. Toss back to Anderson. Tries the near side of the field and once again is stood up right away. And that time getting up to make the stop first was Keith Emray, number 96, who began his CFL career with the Las Vegas Posse. Remember them?
I do. I like going there. I miss those trips.
So now, after a gain of 2, it'll bring up 2nd and 8 for the Calgary Stampeders. John Huffnagel, the offensive coordinator, once again working his magic for the Calgary Stampeders. Garcia in the shotgun on 2nd and 8. 4-man rush by the Ticats. He's got a man open. Allen Pitts. And Pitts lost the football. Don Robinson picks it up for the Ticats. The 2nd fumble of the game by the Calgary Stampeders. And the Ticats have it back. twice.
Yeah, a tough move on Jason Kaiser to the middle. Jeff Garcia reads it perfectly. Rob Hitchcock, the safety, was gone. Nobody there. And Pitts makes the catch, but give Kaiser credit. He stripped the ball loose, and Don Robinson with recovery. So the second turnover for the tie catch. But, oh boy, that was pretty offense, the pass and catch, because Garcia read that blitz perfectly.
Ticats start their second drive from their own 17-yard line. This is Tony Stewart trying to turn the corner. He does, getting out to the 23-yard line. Tony Stewart rushed for 1,200 yards a couple of years ago for the Calgary Stampeders, led the CFL in rushing touchdowns. But they felt he put the ball on the ground too much. 14 fumbles in 2 years with the Calgary Stampeders.
Yeah, that didn't wear too well with Wally Buono, but it's going to be tough for Tony Stewart to run the football in this offense. I mean, they just don't have that lead back right now, and they really do need that to establish the run. Until they make that transition, I don't think they're going to have a lot of success with it, and especially against this defense, too.
After the gain of 4, it's 2nd and 6, but it'll soon be more than that.
Time count violation, Hamilton number 8.
Second time, Larry Justanis has been flagged for the time count violation. So whatever yardage Stewart made will be backed up. Tony Stewart, by the way, rushed for 123 yards in the playoff game between Hamilton and Calgary last year, but did it for the Calgary Stampeders, who won that game last year at McMahon Stadium in Calgary 30-13, and won the earlier meeting this year 40-22. Justanis though under pressure, and he is sacked. Loses the football, but it looks as though the Hamilton Ticats got it back. Larry Justanis under all kinds of pressure, never had a chance.
Yeah, what Calgary doesn't do a great deal of is blitz, but tonight they're going to. There's Alondra Johnson. Here's Anthony McClanahan, but watch the push from Alondra Johnson. He just takes Blaine Schmidt right back into the quarterback, or the running back rather, and you know, Justanis just has no chance. I mean, that's the power of Schmidt against, Johnson against his old buddy Tony Stewart. He just blew him out of there.
So Alondra Johnson will get credit for the sack, his 2nd of the year, and Paulus Balleston will be forced to punt from his end zone.
So defense all of a sudden for Calgary, you know, it's going to set their offense up in terrific position.
Marvin Coleman is the lone man back. Calgary with 11 men on the line of scrimmage, and here they come. As Balleston gets a low tumbling kick away. This is Coleman from the 43-yard line. Coleman brought down quickly, and great work by the Hamilton special teams. Dean Noel gets down to make the stop. A loss of 3 on the return after a 33-yard punt. The CFL Live continues from Hamilton right after this. Hamilton leads Calgary 3-0 in a game that features some pretty high-octane offensive players. Look at the top 4 players in receiving yards last year in the Canadian Football League. Dave Sapunjas, Marcus Grant, Earl Winfield, and Alan Pitts. All 4 are playing in this game tonight.
Yeah, and Sapunjas hasn't had the success. There's a few reasons why. And I had a nice chat with Dave before the game, and as this game wears on, we'll talk about the differences of Dave Sapunjas playing with Jeff Garcia as opposed to Doug Flutie a year ago.
Calgary starts at the Hamilton 45-yard line. Play action on first down. Garcia up and throwing either behind Vince Danielson or way in front of Bernard Holmes, but the pass is incomplete.
I really think that was a screen because there were linemen downfield on that, and the screen just never materialized, so Garcia threw it to a receiver. There's always a hook receiver on a screen play as a safety valve, and I think Garcia just threw that away.
Jeff Garcia is a very intense guy, but his coach Wally Buono says he's very hard to read. He says in practice, if he says 3 words, that's a pretty deep conversation. Garcia from the shotgun on 2nd and 10. 4-man rush by Hamilton. Garcia delivers, and Bernard Holmes makes the catch, but backs up to the 35-yard line and may be short of the Calgary first down. Bernard Holmes is the new man in the lineup for the Calgary Stampeders, first-year man out of Texas A&M.
Pretty athletic move by Bernard Holmes. He's going to run the hook, but watch how he slides it out to adjust to where the ball is thrown at the last minute and make the catch. Really, 2 receivers pretty close together there, but now he's just going to slide back out, whoop, and make the catch, and Kaiser can't get to the football, but that's a nice adjustment.
Bernard Holmes was a NCAA class long jumper at Texas A&M. In fact, he says he can long jump 25 feet, which means with a running start, he could jump over your car.
I wouldn't let him.
Unless you put the aerial up, which would be a problem.
Whew, just when he's jumping.
3rd and short. Garcia fumbled the last time on this one, but he hangs on here and gets across the 35-yard line. So the Calgary drive remains alive. The first 2 Calgary possessions have ended in Stampeder turnovers.
First down.
And that will not go over well with this man.
Well, he's a stickler for error-free football and for good special teams, and his teams have always played that way. And you know, you look at this offense coming into this game tonight, they've only given the ball up 11 times in 7 games. That's the least amount of any CFL team, and a reason why they're 6-1.
Again,
reason why.
Again, the 5 receivers set in for Calgary on first down from the 33-yard line. Garcia, lots of time, sets it up underneath for Alan Pitts. Flags are down, and Pitts is to the 28-yard line. Jeff Garcia was thrown down hard at the end of that play. It'll be roughing the passer against Hamilton. The least penalized team in the league, the Ticats are about to be called for a very costly one here. And George Black will assess it.
Major foul, roughing the passer, Hamilton number 98. First down.
Mike Campbell is called for roughing Jeff Garcia. So tack that on to the end of the game, and it'll be a huge one for Calgary.
Well, there you see the ball clearly has left the hand of Garcia, and Mike Campbell just kept coming about a step and a half before he hit him. And this is probably not a good place to hit quarterbacks late tonight after what's happened to Matt Dunnigan. I think the referees subconsciously will be really trying to protect the quarterbacks.
So in all, it's a 20-yard gain for the Stampeders, who now stand at the Hamilton 14. From the shotgun, Garcia, lots of time, wants to run but won't get anywhere. The Ticats closed on him at the last second. Jesse Small and Keith Embray were there to get him. Jesse Small, the former Ottawa Rough Rider, makes his first start as he returns to the Ticats.
And what Jesse Small really gives you is good speed off the corner. I mean, that's what this league's all positioned by. Tackles getting the good push up the middle and speed on the outside. Jesse Small at one time ran the 40 in 4.5, so this guy has a tremendous amount of speed and used it on that play.
Ross was a yard at 2nd and 11. Now Garcia. Underneath for Vince Danielson, makes the catch at the 5, which will leave him about a yard short of a Calgary first down. Calgary has gone gambling twice in this game already, but now it's a long yard.
Second catch of the night for Vince Danielson, and he just gets the inside position. Pretty simple hook pattern, not really challenged too much by Jason Kaiser. Jason Kaiser can't break quickly enough on the football, and that's pretty easy catch for Danielson. That's not even, you don't even have to work too hard to make that catch and run that pattern. I think down on your own goal line as a defensive back, you've got to come up and challenge your receivers a lot tighter than that. Of course, this is Kaiser's first game starting in there. I guess you don't want anybody going over the top on you, but still, I think you have to be more aggressive.
Now 3rd and a long yard for the Stamps. Garcia gives it off to Kelvin Anderson. He's got it easily as he slides down to the 3-yard line. It'll be 1st and goal for Calgary from there.
Again, a pretty good hit by Rob Hitchcock, 42 at the end of this play, but it's just not enough. The lineman submarine underneath the Calgary offensive line. Hitchcock fills the hole, but already Kelvin Anderson had picked up the first down when he made the hit.
But wait.
Offside, Hamilton left defensive end.
Guess that's why they had a good surge.
A little bit of offside there, but the Ticats will or the Stampeders rather will decline that. The ball is now down at the Hamilton 3-yard line. 1st and goal, Stampeder. 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. And the Stampeders are threatening to score the game's first major, but wait, George Black wants to talk it over with the timekeeper. Now, this wouldn't be the first time there's been controversy with the timekeeper in a Calgary-Hamilton game at Ivory Stadium. Think back to 2 years ago, a pass that Doug Flutie threw to Pee Wee Smith. He got out of bounds with 3 seconds left, but the clock ran down to 0, and Calgary lost the game 27-24. Last time, Hamilton beat Calgary in the regular season.
I remember that game.
So does Doug Flutie. So they reset the clock to 2:17. Now 1st and goal for the Stampeders. Kelvin Anderson. Touchdown, Calgary. So the Stampeders on their 3rd possession are finally able to hang on to the football, and Kelvin Anderson scores his league-leading 8th rushing touchdown of the year.
Well, you have to count on your linebackers to fill the hole, and to the left side, you'll just see Tom Gerhardt coming in, 45. I mean, here, look at this hole right here, and you've got Tom Gerhardt. He just can't get enough shoulder pad on Kelvin Anderson to keep him out of the end zone, and from a yard and a half out, he's going to score every time on that one.
Mark McLaughlin with the point after. It is good, and the Calgary Stampeders lead for the first time with 1:42 to go. Calgary 7, Hamilton 3. The CFL Live continues from Iverwin Stadium in a moment. Kelvin Anderson was on Birmingham's practice roster last year. When their director of player personnel, Roy Shivers, went to Calgary, he took Anderson with him, and he has now scored his league-leading 8th rushing touchdown of the year, capping off the 8-play, 45-yard drive for the Calgary Stampeders, who now lead it 7-3.
Yeah, it all started with the great field position on that drive, and I think if Jeff Garcia is going to play on a short field tonight, that's going to be really tough for the Hamilton Tiger Cats to overcome. He's got the gold tooth. Another Katie Williams got 2 of them. He's got 1.
A lot of good chicklets in the Canadian Football League these years.
Guys will never be broke, will they?
Ted Long gets out across the 30-yard line up to the 31, and that's where the Hamilton Ticats will start after the 16-yard return.
I think you look good with a gold tooth.
I've had enough chicklets knocked out, I can probably afford them. Well, Larry Justanis, you talked about the cause and effect. I mean, here's a situation where Hamilton got the turnover from Calgary, but they couldn't move the ball. They're forced to punt it to give Calgary good field position. It leads to a score. The last time these two teams met, Calgary held the ball for more than 40 minutes.
Well, I think for Larry Justanis, and this sometimes is easier said than done, but I think he has to just get into a rhythm and, complete some short passes. I mean, yeah, you want to read the defense and you want to do all kinds of great things, but I think you have to start completing some balls just to get some confidence in the rest of your teammates.
5 receivers to the near side of the field. That's where Justanis is looking. That's where he's throwing, and he has it complete. Fires it down there to Marcus Grant, who makes the catch at the sideline, a 20-yard gain. And Larry Justanis showed last week against Montreal he has a very live arm.
Well, he has a live arm, and he's got a live arm going to his left, which is the tougher side to throw on the run from for a right-handed quarterback. And I'll tell you, he puts a lot of zip on that football as he hits it into Marcus Grant. But you see, typically, his best throws tonight have been when he's on the move. When he's straight drop back and he has to read the whole field, that's when young quarterbacks get into trouble. So the key now, obviously, is to keep him moving around in that pocket.
Here he goes to the right now, under pressure. Justanis gets away and throws a one-hopper out there. He was looking there to Jason Phillips. Well, it's not like Larry Justanis won't have help this week. Lots of CFL experience on the sidelines for the Hamilton Ticats, and we saw Matt Dunnigan earlier talking to Larry Justanis. Mike Kerrigan is the new co-offensive coordinator. Is that what we'll call him?
Well, a tri-offensive coordinator, because there's Terry Greer, John Salavanis, and Mike Kerrigan. Mike Kerrigan's primary duties will be as quarterback coach.
I'll tell you what, with Mike Kerrigan, Terry Greer on the coaching staff, Hamilton has the best touch football team in the Canadian Football League.
The alumni game will be tough.
No one can come close. Now on second down, Justanis is under pressure, gets away from Polk, tries to get away from Johnson, and that pass is in the stands. And a flag is down. Miles Gorell is trying to indicate that there was a receiver in the area, but unless the Ticats just signed that 50-year-old guy in the front row, I don't think there was.
Intentional grounding, Hamilton number 8.
No, they didn't get a contract to him in time.
Well, the original pressure comes from Marvin Pope, and what the Calgary ends do so well is to get that outside leverage. We saw it from Will Johnson earlier, and now it's Marvin Pope. You see, really, Justanis never has a chance to get to the outside. And actually, that was Alondra Johnson, 51-91. They're both playing the same spot half the time, but again, just the quickness on defense for Calgary really forced that penalty.
Now Paulus Ballison to punt it again. The Hamilton crowd disgusted with that last call. Hey, the Roar's back here. I just saw the first roll of toilet paper thrown here in about 10 years. Ballison almost had it blocked. And no flag as he was knocked down. Coleman sees it bounce out of bounds at the 43-yard line. Now there's a flag, and Paulus Ballison is chasing the referee, George Black. A 33-yard punt, a return of 3, tacks some no yards onto the end of it, And the Hamilton crowd is really getting on George Black and the officiating crew.
No yards. Hamilton number 13. First down.
George is going to need a police escort pretty soon, but watch this. It's Anthony McClanahan that comes into your picture, and, you know, I'm not so sure he really even made contact with Paulus Ballaston.
Yeah, got him on the shoulder.
Well, he touched him with his left hand a little bit, but I don't think that was much of a hit. I agree that in the non-call.
Well, after the penalty, the Stamps start at the Hamilton 52-yard line. The toss goes to Kelvin Anderson, sliding through the Hamilton defense. He's dropped by Joe Montford after a pickup of 5. That is the final play of the opening quarter. The Calgary Stampeders with a 7-3 lead on the Hamilton Ticats. And the fans here are looking for some heads. We'll be back in a minute.
CFL live at the quarter. Brought to you by Subway. Try Subway's great tasting classic Italian BMT.
Well, guys, the Hamilton Ticats did get a couple of turnovers. They only managed to come up with 3 points, but they are playing a spirited football game.
Speaking of spirited football game, Mike Campbell, who is now back for the first time in a while since he messed up his foot, is playing a very spirited game. I mean, he's playing in the middle, he's back in the middle, he's clogging things up, and of course he gets the roughing the passer because he's all hyped up. That's a Mike Campbell. You can't take that away from him, and what you have to do is deal with it.
I'm impressed with Justanis. I know that before he signed with the Tiger Cats, he went to the NFL scouting combine and tried to make an impression on the NFL scouts. And they didn't really like the fact that he didn't throw with that much zip. But tonight he's throwing with a lot of zip across the field. I'm impressed the way he's rolling out and throwing the zip. Hey, Bob?
Yeah, he's doing a good job. And I think that the Calgary team very uncharacteristically gave up 2 turnovers early in the game. Right now they lead the league with going into the game with a plus 14. So they don't turn it over very often. It's those kind of breaks, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, that Hamilton needs some of those kind of plays to keep them emotionally high and let them make some plays of their own.
That's a point well taken, Coach. Calgary ended the game with just 5 interceptions and 6 fumbles in 7 football games, which is pretty good. Jeff Garcia has only thrown 4 picks so far this season. We're watching this guy on a week-by-week basis mature. You can't help but be impressed with him.
Hamilton needs to tighten up in the secondary right now, because right now that is right where they're lacking at, and they need to come up with some big pops, or they need to get some interceptions to really confuse Garcia a little bit.
And you and I were talking off camera, Lesia. You love that Ticat crowd because they really respect defensive players there.
They love
exactly. They enjoy a defensive play almost better than an offensive play any day. Let's return to Ivor Wynn.
Just like the old days in Hamilton, a low-scoring defensive struggle, and the crowd's all over people here at Ivor Wynn Stadium. Just the stats from the first quarter, Calgary with the edge in net yards, but the 2 turnovers really hurt them. They scored the game's first touchdown, and they're looking for more. 2nd and 5 now are the Stamps from the Hamilton 47-yard line. Garcia on play action. Lots of time. Has his man Dave Sapunjas. And Sapunjas down to the 37-yard line. Dave Sapunjas does not have a touchdown catch in his last 5 games. Is he the forgotten man here, Leith?
Well, I don't think he's the forgotten man. I think it's the offensive scheme is a little bit different with Jeff Garcia as quarterback as opposed to Doug Flutie. That time to play action gave him a little extra time to beat Jay Phillips. But essentially, Doug Flutie read from outside in. He looks slot backs to wide receivers. Jeff Garcia looks wide receivers into slot backs. So for a lot of times, Dave Sapunjas becomes the secondary read for Garcia, and that's why he's not catching as many footballs.
Play action on first down. Garcia throwing it high over the middle to Alan Pitts. Intercepted. Picked off by Jason Kaiser. And now Kaiser waits for some blocks. Outside the 20 to the 25. 3rd turnover of the game forced by the Ticat defense. Jason Kaiser's first career interception.
And it was the pressure of Keith Embry at the top. He takes the inside route here, and just as Garcia wants to release the football, he's going to get the pressure, and this is why this ball hangs up forever. And Jason Kaiser's able to make the interception, but it was the pressure, and absolutely no way he could get it down to Alan Pitts. That's a heck of a one-handed catch. But all of a sudden, pressure causes the turnover.
And Jeff Garcia felt it at the end of that play. So now the Ticats from their own 24-yard line. We'll see if they can take advantage of this latest Calgary turnover. From the shotgun, this is Tony Stewart on the handoff from Justanis. Trimmed up as he gets to the 25-yard line. And stopped there by Anthony McClanahan, back in the Calgary defensive lineup.
Yeah, he really is a one-man wrecking crew, Anthony McClanahan. I mean, this guy, I think he likes to blitz more than anything else because he comes like he's been shot out of a cannon. And, you know, he's in the lineup tonight with Marvin Pope moving to end. He gets a chance to play, but this is one tough defense. You look at Johnson, Alondra Johnson in the middle, and Daryl Hall on the outside, who we haven't even talked about. This is an awesome linebacking core.
Calgary shows blitz on second down. Here they come. Justanis under pressure, gets it away and complete. Matt Cody has the catch close to a first down as he gets up to the 33-yard line. Larry Justanis hung in there until the very last second.
Yeah, he really did, because to say, here comes Kenton Leonard. Watch him, the little feet, and all of a sudden he's coming. But give Larry Justanis credit. I mean, he's willing to hang in and take the hit. He can feel it. He can feel it coming. But he's going to take the hit, and he's willing to pay the price to make the completion.
And Matt Cody makes a pretty good catch of a football that was almost going end over end by the time it got to him.
Must be a punt returner, too.
Matt Cody comes up a good yard short of the first down, and Don Sutherland sends in the short yardage unit. Hamilton will gamble.
You know, I kind of like the call. Some people would say, well, why in the world would you ever go for this deep in your own territory? But, hey, listen, they're in tough tonight, period, against the Calgary Stampeders, and I really think they need to keep the ball away from Calgary's offense, you know, as much as anything. So I think that's one of the reasons why he's going to gamble.
Don Sutherland won a Grey Cup ring with the Calgary Stampeders in 1992. He was their defensive backs coach. And that, in fact, is the ring he's wearing right now. 3rd and a yard for the Ticats from their own 33-yard line. Justanis gives it off to Tony Stewart, and Tony Stewart gets up to the 38-yard line with a dangerous look from Tony Stewart as he hesitated at the line of scrimmage, but then did get the first down.
Talk about some good footwork at the line of scrimmage. Watch Alondra Johnson. He's going to hit right up here, but Tony Stewart, just with the little move, gets to the outside. Initially, this looked like he wasn't going to make it. Watch Johnson. He's right in there, but a little cut to the outside, and Tony Stewart picks up the first down. That's the subtle little things that help you win ball games.
Justanis in the shotgun on first down. Here comes the blitz. Justanis gets it away to Earl Winfield. Lost the football. Picked up by Daryl Hall. And now it's a foot race the other way. Tony Stewart makes the tackle on his former teammate. But Daryl Hall is down to the 25-yard line. First turnover of the game by the Ticats, and it is a costly one.
Boy, did ever. Al Jordan, you know, he was beaten on the play by Winfield, but you know, he had the presence of mind to, once Winfield made the catch, to go in and try and strip that football. Look at the right hand. He gets right in there, and who's right there waiting for it is Daryl Hall, and a huge break for the Calgary Stampeders. You know, I mentioned when you're in tough against the team, you got to do a lot of positive things to win, and this is one of those things that really puts you behind the 8 ball.
Well, Bob Obelovich mentioned on the pregame show that Hamilton would have to play almost mistake-free football. Calgary has turned the ball over 3 times to Hamilton's 1. But if Calgary scores the touchdown here, it's 14-3.
Well, I think it's almost impossible to play error-free football, and you just saw a sample of that.
Jeff Garcia on first down, looking for it all, and looking for Alan Pitts. It was behind him, and there on the coverage, looking for the interception, was Kevin Gaines. And Jeff Garcia just missed his man.
Well, there you see, you know, I talked about it earlier. 11 was the best in the league going into this game tonight at giving the football up, but they, you know, add 3 to that total in a hurry, and all of a sudden they're tied with Montreal and Toronto in that department, so they are no longer the leaders. That didn't last very long.
Pressure once again on the Hamilton defense on second down. Here comes the blitz. Garcia gets it away, has a man, Pitts! Touchdown, Calgary! Alan Pitts is able to hang on, and Jeff Garcia got him the football. Alan Pitts with a 25-yard touchdown, his 4th of the year.
Well, Hamilton threw caution to the wind and came with everybody. They had a middle safety blitz with Rob Hitchcock. They had 53 Joe Montford coming, and although he gets there just at the end of the play. It's enough for Garcia to get it up, and Pitts just takes it away from Kaiser.
And you saw the official leaf watch until the last second to see if Alan Pitts actually had made the catch.
Well, there's where his height advantage, you know, he's 6'4", and he just goes up over the top, and there's no way Kaiser could ever fight through to try and make the play in the football. But they'll give it credit. They picked up the safety blitz. That was the key guy. Although Montfort came free, the key one right in the face of Garcia was Hitchcock, and they picked him up.
Alan Pitts with the touchdown reception. The Hamilton Ticats pay for the turnover. 14-3 Calgary.
That row is in section 25.
10:48 to go in the first half here at Iverwin Stadium in Hamilton. The home team down 14-3 after Calgary's second touchdown of the football game. Ted Long takes the kickoff from his 20, and Long finds his way up to the 35-yard line. A 55-yard kickoff and return of 15 by Ted Long. Well, after the turnover, it didn't take long for Calgary to take advantage. 2 plays, 25 yards. Alan Pitts with the touchdown catch. In his last 44 games in the Canadian Football League, Alan Pitts has caught 36 touchdown passes.
That is a pretty impressive ratio, and I think what was impressive tonight, he caught a pass earlier that he fumbled. But both times, Hamilton's taken the safety out of the middle tonight. Garcia's seen it, Pitts has seen it, and they've made the play. That's pretty scary. That tells you how well these guys work together.
Larry Justanis' last pass was complete to Earl Winfield, but he fumbled. So now the Ticats start from their 35. Justanis once again in the shotgun. Here comes the rush, and the shovel pass to Ted Long. And Ted Long gets up to the 50-yard line, a 15-yard gain on a perfectly executed play by Larry Justanis.
Well, they play a game against Will Johnson, and he really can't make the right play because they do it perfectly. Watch, here's Will Johnson. He's going to come out, and whatever he does is wrong. If he goes to the quarterback, Justanis pitches as that he does. If he stays with the running back, Justanis will run it. So for Will Johnson, there's really no right play to make, although I'd go for the running back and make Justanis run it.
15-yard pickup. First down from the 50-yard line. Tony Stewart with the carry, and Tony Stewart gets 3 tough yards as Marvin Pope and Anthony McClanahan come up to make the stop. Well, we knew we'd see more of the running game from the Ticats. Mike Kerrigan said that was his first order of business.
Well, it is, and they're a player away from, you know, the offensive line's not a bad offensive line, and I think they're going to certainly relish the opportunity to run the football more, but they really do need a big running back, fullback type in certain situations, not, of course, on every series, but they are missing that particular player right now, and I think they're looking for one.
Of early movement. Looked like Miles Gurrell moved on that Hamilton offensive line. And while we have a moment on this offensive line, we should mention Dale Sanderson of the Ticats, the center, number 56, and congratulate him. His wife Tracy had a baby Thursday night. Samantha Sanderson.
Timeout violation. Hamilton number 8.
It's alliteration.
Procedure. Hamilton number 66 does not apply.
That's good. What's onomatopoeia?
No idea.
I think that's a word that sounds like bam is onomatopoeia. Aha. But Dale Sanderson's a papa again. Big guy in his 12th year out of Tennessee.
I remember him when I played in Hamilton. He came and practiced with us in the spring as a junior.
Is that right?
So he has been around this area for a while.
One of 6 Hamilton natives now playing for the Ticats. After the penalty, second down goes Justanis, and down he goes hard. Alondra Johnson got a free shot as a Hamilton quarterback. Wow.
That is very similar to the one Dunnigan took from Reggie Carthon from BC a few weeks ago here. Justanis has no idea that Alondra Johnson from the backside has come free, and a few more hits like that, and Larry Justanis is going to lose his enthusiasm in a hurry because those hurt. I mean, he's a big guy, and he's a little ticked off right now because he just didn't see that coming, and that's one of the things that this offense is trying to do to get better protection, but they just didn't have enough people.
And there's already 2 Hamilton quarterbacks in street clothes who can tell you what it's like playing with that kind of pressure.
Yeah, and I don't think they want Marvin Graves to play tonight. I really don't think he's had enough time to pick up the offense.
This is Terry Vaughn on the return, and not much doing there as he gets down to the 32-yard line. And look who got down to make the stop. The long snapper, Blaine Schmidt. So another big defensive play, and Calgary leads by 11. Welcome back to Hamilton. The Calgary Stampeders have won 8 of the last 10 regular season meetings between these two. They lead this game 14-3 with 8:20 to go in the first half. Jeff Garcia facing the blitz, steps up, delivers, and throws it just short for Vince Danielson. Jason Kaiser was there on the coverage. Well, these two teams heading into this game, and you can see the numbers, show a wide edge to the Calgary Stampeders. Sacks allowed. Hamilton had allowed nearly 4 times as many sacks. The rushing yards are close, but the net yards a game, an edge for Calgary, and the completion percentage much higher as well. When they met earlier this year, both teams were undefeated. But Calgary has since gone on to go to a 6-1 mark. Hamilton has lost 3 of its last 4. 4 receivers to the top of your screen. That's where Garcia is looking over the middle. Kelvin Anderson with the catch. And only the safety, Rob Hitchcock, stood between him and the end zone. The running back, Kelvin Anderson, with a 37-yard gain.
And you know, Dave Sapunjas and I talked before the game that Hamilton always is vulnerable in the middle, and notice how Calgary's really been attacking that area. There's no way Joe Montfort can stay with Kelvin Anderson, and good sight lines for Garcia. There's the lane between the tackle and guard. Easy to pick out Anderson downfield, and although the ball wobbled, it was a perfectly thrown football. Perfect because it got to the right spot. Not pretty, but perfect.
It's a 37-yard gain. The Stamps are down to the Ticat 42. Here comes the blitz again. And again, Garcia gets it away, this time to Terry Vaughn, who is very close to another Calgary first down as he slides close to the 31-yard line.
Wow, what Calgary's doing so well tonight is when Hamilton is gambling on defense, they always have somebody coming underneath. Here's Terry Vaughn. I mean, nothing fancy about this. Pitts clears out, and he comes underneath it. It's good if it's zone, and it's even better when the blitz is coming, because that's a tough pattern for Derek Greer to come a long way to cover.
Garcia has thrown passes to 6 different receivers already tonight, and Calgary enters the game with 4 receivers who have 20 or more catches. They're the only team in the league that can make that claim.
You know, it's nice when that happens. It's not always done by design, but you know, you keep everybody in the football game, and that's tough on this Calgary team. They got so many great offensive threats. To keep everybody happy is a tough job for the quarterback sometime, but I know everybody's interest level is pretty high here in the second quarter.
Terry Vaughn came up just short of a Calgary first down. It's 2nd and inches, a place where a lot of people like to throw deep.
You know what I like in these situations? I mean, why not? They're going to pick it up by falling forward on 3rd down.
But Garcia will get it here and slide forward to the 30-yard line. Jeff Garcia knew a lot about the Canadian Football League before he ever played in it. His dad is a college coach down in California, and he was saying that his dad used to watch CFL games with him all the time. And in fact, in high school, Jeff Garcia was an all-star safety and quarterback, and he went to play for his dad. There was quite a lot of speculation that he might be a defensive back. Garcia said, "I love hitting guys," but Dad said, "No, son, you're a quarterback. That's where the money is."
That's right. It's good advice early, wasn't it?
Safeties end up about 4 inches shorter and a lot poorer. First down, Stampeders from the 30. Garcia, deep drop, lots of time, and underthrows his receiver, Bernard Holmes. And Holmes well covered on the play. Bernard Holmes has been with the Stampeders since training camp, and this is part of the Wally Buono philosophy that he's always espoused. He doesn't want to bring in guys in mid-season. So they brought him in training camp. They liked him. He's been on the practice roster. They get a guy hurt, and they can bring in a guy who's been there all season. And you see a lot of teams that'll have that revolving door. A guy, I mean, literally has to introduce himself in the huddle. Not so in Calgary.
I think they do a great job of working guys subtly into the lineup, and they work them into the lineup not because of injury a lot of times, just because the guy has earned the right to play and get a chance to start.
Now on 2nd down. Garcia facing a 4-man rush. Throws it down to Vince Danielson, but Danielson is tied up well and stopped short of the first down. Tom Gerhardt got down there to stop Vince Danielson short of a Calgary first down. They'll mark him actually at the 22-yard line, so he'll be about 2 yards short.
Yeah, that's a pretty good decision for Wally Buono. I'm sure they'll send on the kicking team, but I mean, you know, 14-3, here's a chance really to bury Hamilton in the second quarter. But they're going to take the sure points and bring Mark McLaughlin into the game.
Both field goal kickers in this game have something in common. Well, they've got a lot in common. They've both been in the league a long time, Mark McLaughlin and Paulus Balderson, but they were both born in England. Mark McLaughlin was born in Liverpool and lived there till he was 10.
But neither one of them have English accents.
No. They don't say like, George. That's my best Beatles, sorry.
That wasn't very good.
Really? I've been working on that. Mark McLaughlin from the 29-yard line has missed only once from inside the 40 this season. And McLaughlin puts it through. So the Calgary Stampeders, with 5:01 left in the first half, add to their lead. It's now 17-3. The Stampeders on top. Back live to Iberwin Stadium in Hamilton, where the Stampeders have a 17-3 lead on the Hamilton Ticats. And our coverage of the CFL continues tomorrow night as Jim Daly's Saskatchewan Roughriders take on the Edmonton Eskimos at 5 o'clock Mountain, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Glenn Suter and I will be at Commonwealth Stadium for that one. Their first meeting of the year was, by all accounts, one of the more physical games in the Canadian Football League this year, and that guy, Alondra Johnson, has been a physical presence tonight.
He's had a whale of a first half. I mean, he has been everywhere the football has gone. Number 51 has been there as well.
Larry Justanis on first down, lots of time, kind of sidearms it there, and has Marcus Grant. And Marcus Grant has the catch down to the Calgary 48-yard line. It's a pickup of 27 yards.
Well, I think when Larry Justanis has had time to throw tonight, as he does on this play, you can see he does have some terrific arm strength, and, you know, stepping up into the pocket. I mean, this is a heck of a good strike here over the middle of Marcus Grant.
So Marcus Grant, the Birmingham Barracuda of a year ago, and one of 4 former Barracudas who starts in this Hamilton offense, has them down to the Calgary 48-yard line. Now on first down, the give goes to Tony Stewart, and he goes nowhere. And guess who made the stop? Anthony McClanahan. And you mentioned Anthony McClanahan loves to make plays. He went to Washington State University, played in the Pac-10, which is a great conference of college football in the U.S. He was a 2-time Pac-10 Player of the Year as a defensive player.
And that's a tough thing to do. And I can tell you from that picture we saw of him, his hair's changed colors since then. He's got the blonde look now.
It's the Blonde Ambition World Tour this year. On second down, Justanis has time. Flags are down. He hits Earl Winfield, and Winfield has a first down just as he gets down to the Calgary 34-yard line. But it may be coming back. No, it's a penalty against Calgary. Face masking is the call against the Stampeders, and the crowd with a sarcastic cheer for George Black in the crowd.
Major foul, face mask, Calgary number 84, first down.
Well, Hamilton's going to need a few breaks like this. They really haven't had any except for their opening drive when they got a couple offside penalties to give them good, or actually give them some first downs. But now this one, you know, all of a sudden, you know, 17-3 to get the touchdown right here. They're right back in this football game.
Earl Winfield with the big catch for the Hamilton Ticats, and tack on the penalty. First down Hamilton at the Calgary 18-yard line. Here comes the blitz. Justanis, lots of time to the end zone. Matt Cody, touchdown! Matt Cody with his 6th touchdown catch of the year, but only his 2nd in the last 4 games.
And you know, oftentimes for a young quarterback, straight man-to-man is the easiest coverage to read, and that's what Justanis gets. He's looking to Cody all the way. He runs a post corner on Eddie Davis. That's a heck of a throw. Great pattern by Matt Cody. His 6th touchdown of this early season. And all of a sudden, Hamilton has got themselves right back into this one.
Matt Cody had 4 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks of the season. Now has his 6th of the year. And the Hamilton Ticats, to the line of this big crowd at Iberwin Stadium, trail by 7.
Larry Justanis is great. Like, he'll show you a little emotion, won't he?
No doubt about it. Matt Cody's got the Ticats back in the game in Hamilton. Larry Justanis 3 for 3 passing on the drive for 59 yards, and this touchdown, the 2nd of his career.
Well, when he has been given time to throw, he's made some good throws tonight, and that was a great one to Matt Cody, and one that got this team back in the football game in a hurry.
And that's the 2nd-year dance for Matt Cody. He's had, what, about 22 games to work on that now. Now the kickoff, taken by Kelvin Anderson. Up the sidelines he goes and out of bounds at the 32-yard line. Well, we mentioned the proud Papa Dale Sanderson. He helped Larry Justanis deliver a touchdown there.
Yeah, he did a heck of a job. This is some slide protection by the offensive line. Blaine Schmidt goes this way, and Dale Sanderson will slide over and take this gap and whoever comes in that gap is his. It happens to be Marvin Pope right here, but that slide protection, you have to be disciplined on the offensive line to do that. That afforded Justanis great sight lines downfield to complete this touchdown pass. But, you know, that's what John Salavanis is there. He is just to the left there. You see his face talking to Dale Sanderson. That's what they've been working on, to shore up that protection and give their team a chance in some games.
Larry Justanis directs the drive. 4 plays, 75 yards, takes 2 minutes, and gets Hamilton back in the game, and more importantly, gets this crowd back in the game at Ivory Wind Stadium.
Well, there's been no question about the production of Matt Cody this year. I mean, we knew he was a good one in Birmingham last year. That's why they went after him in his personal draft, but his touchdown-to-catch ratio is pretty darn good.
Calgary, 1st and 10 from its own 30-yard line. Jeff Garcia has time and has Alan Pitts right up at the 40-yard line. Pitts is stopped there by the cornerback, Don Robinson, who had 2 interceptions against Calgary in the first meeting this year. But Alan Pitts, who caught a touchdown pass earlier, has another catch here. Look at the numbers coming into this game. 36 catches already. Alan Pitts has led the CFL in receptions 3 times in his career and has already been a 3-time All-Canadian. 1st and 10 for the Stamps. Here comes the blitz from Hamilton. Screen pass, but it's behind the intended receiver, Alan Pitts, and incomplete. 2:23 to play here in the opening half, and the Hamilton defense turns it up a notch.
Boy, and Hamilton has really been willing to come after the quarterback, and again, I think maybe Mike Campbell got a hand on this thing just as he lets it go. No, he doesn't really. Yes, he does touch it right there, and that's the reason why it was deflected, because it would have been in the Pitts.
Now 2nd and 10, and the crowd on its feet. Garcia, lots of time, guns it, and has his man Terry Vaughn. That time, Don Robinson gambled and lost looking for the interception, and Vaughn has what should be a first down, rather. Pushing and shoving breaks out, and now a flag comes down.
I think Brendan McNeil for Calgary is going to get flagged at the end of that one, but Donnie Robinson, Jay McNeil rather, Donnie Robinson took a chance on that play and gambled coming underneath.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Hamilton number 98. First down.
Mike Campbell was called for unnecessary roughness. He was called for roughing the quarterback earlier, so that's 30 yards in penalties against Campbell in this game.
That never fails, because Jay McNeil took the first shot, and then Campbell retaliates, and he's the one that gets called for it. You know what Sudsy say? I mean, cool out, guys. Don't give him any free ones here.
Hamilton came into the game as the least penalized team in the Canadian Football League. They've already been flagged 9 times for 79 yards.
That's unbelievably high number for one half of football.
First down, Garcia under pressure, gets it away, and incomplete. He was looking there for Terry Vaughn, but that time Don Robinson wins the battle.
And they win the battle because of Rob Hitchcock's hit on Terry Vaughn on the last pass reception that he just made on the previous play, because he did not have a whole lot of interest in catching that football, and he was thinking Hitchcock was in his area again.
So now another big 2nd down play for the Hamilton defense.
Well, I can't believe the way Hamilton's coming after Garcia. I mean, they have just been relentless on how many people they bring. I don't think they're going to bring a lot of people here, but they have given Garcia a lot of different looks.
4-man rush. Garcia, lots of time, has a man, intercepted by Derek Greer. And Derek Greer has room to run. Out to midfield. Derek Greer with his 3rd interception of the year. And Hamilton has forced Calgary's 4th turnover.
Well, Rob Hitchcock on this series has really made his presence felt. He got a good hit on Vaughn. His hit resulted in Vaughn not going after the football in the previous play, and now his hit again sets up this interception. There's the pop right there on Bernard Holmes, the ball in the air, and Derek Greer comes up with the interception. That was a heck of a defensive series for number 42, Rob Hitchcock.
2:02 to play in the first half. Hamilton has the ball at midfield. Justanis, pump fake, had time, now he's running for his life. And Justanis finally gets it away. Nobody even near the ball, but this time they do not call intentional grounding. Who was that going to, Lee?
And that's a good job just to get rid of the football. I mean, really, he was just looking for a spot that he could put that ball into an open area where he wouldn't get called for intentional grounding. I mean, here the fun starts. I mean, he's shown me a lot of mobility. For a big guy, I didn't know that he was able to move around like this. But, I mean, that is a veteran play there. You're putting it into a spot where nobody's going to get it, and you live to have 2nd and 10 instead of 2nd and a bunch. And his numbers are pretty darn good. I think he's played a heck of the first half.
The CIAU's all-time leading passer at Acadia University. Now it's 2nd and 10. Justanis look to the backside, sets up the screen for Tony Stewart, waiting for blocks, but there's nothing but Stampeders there. Rodney Harding gets there to make the stop along with Anthony McClanahan. And it'll bring up 3rd and long for the Ticats.
Well, you know, on every screen, you want to let the defensive lineman get some penetration and then throw over the top of them. But this penetration happens just too fast. Here's Will Johnson, and, you know, ideally as a quarterback, you want to set, and then set up the screen. But this just happens too quickly, and the play doesn't ever have a chance to unfold.
Paulus Ballison will punt. Marvin Coleman is back deep. Once again, 11 men up for the Calgary Stampeders. Marvin Coleman had 2 interception returns for touchdowns in the playoff game between Calgary and Hamilton last year, a CFL playoff record. And had a punt return for a touchdown called back last week in BC. Coleman drops the ball at the 2 and falls on it at the 1. I'll tell you what, the Calgary Stampeders might spend their time at the half sewing handles on the football.
Well, you know, all the fans, when they come to Iverwood Stadium, they just want to see a good effort from their team. Yeah, they'd like to win a few more games than they've won in the last few weeks, but they want some effort. They're getting that from their team.
What did Wally Buono say before the game? His biggest concern, that his team would not be sharp playing Hamilton.
You know what? It's just a human nature thing. I'm sure all day the coaches were saying it to the players were saying it amongst themselves and to themselves that, hey, we cannot take this team lightly. But somehow, way back in the back of your mind, you know that if you show up and you're a superior team, you're going to win. But it just doesn't work that way. But from a human nature standpoint, it's a tough thing to overcome.
And here comes the crowd in Hamilton. From the 1, they fake the toss to Kelvin Anderson. Garcia up and throwing, has Alan Pitts, and Pitts has the catch at the 14-yard line. A dangerous play for Calgary, but Garcia and Pitts deliver.
Well, with the play action, it holds everybody just enough that on the rollout, he has an opportunity to get outside the containment. So, although it seems dangerous down your own goal line, it's a pretty high percentage call.
Look at this. Earl Winfield tonight moves into number 10 on the all-time list. So we've got Earl, Winfield, and Alan Pitts, the number 9 and number 10 receivers all-time in the Canadian Football League, doing their stuff tonight. Calvin Anderson with the gain, and not much of a gain as Jesse Small throws him down on first down. By the way, on that top 10 all-time receiving list, 6 of the players are former Hamilton Ticats. Tommy Joe Coffey, Tony Gabriel, Rocky DiPietro, Terry Evanson, Hal Patterson, and now Earl Winfield. 6 of the top 10 receivers all time in the league, and you play for the Hamilton Ticats.
Yeah, how come I'm not on that list?
They must have, you know what?
I think there's an error.
The stats must be wrong.
They're not wrong.
Gain of 1, it's 2nd and 9. Here comes the blitz by the Ticats. Garcia gets it away to Sapunjas, who's dropped at the 24-yard line, a yard short of a Calgary first down. 57 seconds to play here in the first half. Now what do you do?
Wow, this is a great job by Jeff Garcia. Watch Joe Montford. He absolutely, totally comes clean off the corner. You know, as soon as Garcia takes the snap, he knows that he's got to get rid of it right now. And you know what? That's a super job by Jeff Garcia, able to find somebody that quickly, because he really had no time to set up at all.
This is an interesting situation, Leif, because Calgary looks to be a full yard short of the first down. It's at your own 24-yard line, less than a minute to go in the half. Do you go?
Well, this is one of what could be one of the great momentum shifts in the game. If you go and make it, you kind of take the wind out of the sails a little bit of Hamilton. If you don't make it, boy, oh boy, are they going to be sky high.
Well, you talk about turning points in a game, though. Think about the game last night between Winnipeg and BC. BC leading late in the first half. An interception for a touchdown first half, turns that game around.
Well, the Ottawa-Toronto game last night, too, where Ottawa throws the interception, Toronto gets a field goal. That was a huge momentum changer in that ball game. And we'll see what happens on this one, because this could be the same situation.
3rd and a yard. Early movement. Garcia dives ahead. Flags are down. Hamilton went offside.
And Hamilton just couldn't be patient enough to stay and hang in there.
And offside, the call against the Ticats. And Garcia had it easily anyway. Now 43 seconds to go in the first half.
Offside, Hamilton number 53, first down.
Montford offside, and Calgary's drive remains alive. Did he get some help, Leaf?
I think he got a little help. Jeff Garcia, a little head bob, and it's going to be tough to see it right here. But watch now, just to the right of your screen, there's Garcia. Oh, now, you see now, that's cheating.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's only cheating when you get caught.
Well, I guess you're right. But Tom Wilkinson was the master. Garcia must have picked up some more games from him.
From the 29, Garcia guns for Alan Pitts, who makes the catch at the 47-yard line. How quickly did Alan Pitts bring down that ball before the contact got there? Another first down, and Alan Pitts. There's Leaf. There you are, buddy.
Hey, now wait a minute.
We found you.
That is an error. It was 359. You guys are awful here.
I can't believe that. I was only 1,500 career yards behind you. Alan Pitts with another 100-yard game today. 6 catches for 103 yards for Pitts. First down, Calgary, and 33 seconds to go in the opening half.
Now all of a sudden 3 first downs, and Jeff Garcia with those 37 seconds left is saying, hey, I'm 2 first downs away from a Mark McLaughlin field goal. You look at all of a sudden Hamilton had a chance to have a great defensive stand and give their offense back the ball in good field position. Now Calgary's going to maybe get some points out of this.
Garcia's up to throw again. Lots of time. Has Vince Danielson, and Danielson is down to the 48-yard line. The stop is made by Jason Kaiser. It's another Calgary first down into Hamilton territory.
Yeah, that only took 8 seconds, so there's plenty of time left. Again, Garcia going to the rollout. What they've done nicely tonight is move that pocket around. Garcia hasn't been a stationary target for that Hamilton pass rush. That's a good catch by Vince Danielson.
Allen first down. Again, lots of time for Garcia. Hit as he throws. He completes it over there to Vaughn. Room to run for Terry Vaughn inside the 35, down to the 33-yard line. 10 seconds to go in the half, and Calgary will call timeout.
And you have to be impressed, Gord, with the courage of both quarterbacks tonight. There again, Garcia was, he could see Mike Philbrick coming right in his face on that hit, and he was willing to stand in and take the hit to deliver this football to Terry Vaughn, which turned out to be a big play. He got about another 10, 12 yards on this to set them up in at least field goal position now. Terry Vaughn, you look at his average per catch. Those were the numbers. He's added to those figures tonight. But what I really liked is you need to have one guy in your receiving core that can go deep on any play. And Terry Vaughn has shown he is that guy. Almost 22 yards per catch coming into tonight, and he hasn't hurt that average at all with his performance tonight. And that's one guy you got to have, a guy that's a threat every down.
Mentioned before that Jeff Garcia had watched a lot of Canadian Football League action before he ever played here, and in fact he went to San Jose State University, which produced another great CFL player, Mervyn Fernandez. So that may be another place that Jeff Garcia heard about it.
Yeah, and traditionally that was a great passing school too, San Jose State.
Jesse Small is the injured Hamilton Ticat, and this is about the last thing Don Sutherland needs to see. Look at the injury problems that they've had in Hamilton and the changes that they have forced. 6 new players on offense since the last game against Montreal. Well, that's half your starting lineup.
Yeah, and this is rather. He says I've been up here 33 years, never seen anything like this. It's rather redundant to say this, but change you want to make when you make it because you're putting in a better player. But they've just had to make change because of disaster situations.
Well, we talked about it on the pregame show. How bad is it for the Ticats? Donovan Gans, who was injured early in the year, a thumb injury in this season, gets out of his car on Monday going to treatment and ruptures his Achilles tendon.
They had another defensive back this week, and I don't recall his name, but they wanted to really have a serious look at him playing, and he fell on his first practice and hurt his rotator cuff, so he couldn't even continue. So, they are a truly snake-bitten team at this point.
There are some teams that will use injuries as a crutch, but Hamilton has a legitimate beef. Even Wally Buono said, you know, you got to feel for Don Sutherland. He said, I've never seen anything like this.
Is he going to lend him players?
No, it doesn't go that simple. From the 33, first down with 10 seconds to go in the opening half. Garcia in the shotgun. Quarterback draw. Jeff Garcia, lots of room, gets down to the 22-yard line. 7 seconds to play here in the first half. Time for another play.
Well, in the old days, I think it'd be time for another play, but I think if you were going to, you'd go to the end zone for it, and with 7 seconds, you're taking a chance, so I kicked the field goal.
And that's what's going to happen.
If you needed to go from like the 55-yard line in another 2 yards to ensure your field goal, maybe you do, but in this case, it's still a chip shot for McLaughlin.
Why do you say the old days?
Because the old days had guys like Ron Lancaster that always said with 7 seconds, I got 2 plays left. The new guys, I don't know that they feel that way.
Well, he had the clock operator in Saskatchewan.
Well, maybe. You know, like, it was great to go through hurry-up drills in practice with Ron, because, you know, we'd always do simulated extra, you know, drills where we'd have 30 seconds, and he'd say, how many plays do you think I can get in 30 seconds? And we'd all say, well, you know, like 3, 4. You'd get about 6 or 7 in.
How about this last drive for Jeff Garcia? 5 for 5 for 70 yards and a carry for 11. Gets Mark McLaughlin in a position to try this field goal.
Yeah, and they started from their own 1-yard line, so, I mean, he's really done his job on this drive. This was a first-place team kind of drive.
Mark McLaughlin, by the way, is now 24 of 27 on the season for the Calgary Stampeders. 89.5% best in the Canadian Football League. And this try will come from just outside the 29-yard line. Kevin Reed replaces Doug Flutie as McLaughlin's holder. McLaughlin, who has missed just 3 times this season, puts another one through here. 3 seconds to go in the first half, and Calgary makes it a 20-10 lead. Well, the Calgary Stampeders are off to their customary fast start, 6-1, entering this week's action in the Canadian Football League. Look at the fight, though, the rest of the way. Edmonton and Saskatchewan play tomorrow night at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. Well, if Saskatchewan wins that game, look out. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, very quietly, through their quarterbacking controversies, through their injuries, are 5-3.
Yeah, and they've had some big wins over some very, very good football teams. Toronto in the Eastern Conference with their win over Ottawa last night moved to 7-1, and then the fight starts between Montreal, Hamilton, and poor old Ottawa. Just can't win for trying. They've got to go into Skydome next Saturday afternoon. We'll have that game for you on TSN. But they, Ottawa's just had a tough time.
It sounds like a broken record, but they didn't play that badly last night. I mean, you know. Final play of the first half. Justanis is going to throw it up deep. It's a jump ball. Matt Cody's down there. So is Jason Phillips, but it falls incomplete. So an entertaining first half comes to a conclusion. The Calgary Stampeders overcome their own mistakes and have a 20-10 lead on the Hamilton Ticats. We'll be back with more later from Iverwood Stadium in Hamilton, but right now, stand by for the CFL Live halftime show.
CFL Live at the half. Brought to you by Corel, world leader in CD-ROM technology.
Well, it's a 10-point spread at the half, covering Marty's spread, by the way. But this has been a really entertaining first half of football, specifically Larry Justanis. The kid has looked pretty good. When you take a look at his first half stats, he has performed admirably. 9 of 13, and it could be 9 of 12 because that Hail Mary pass was his 13th attempted pass of the half. 130 yards, 1 touchdown, and no picks so far in this football game.
Well, you know, Darren, this is potentially a very big story for the CFL. Not since Jerry DeFilio in the late 1980s has a Canadian established himself at the quarterback position. This is kind of exciting for Canadians.
You know what I like about this kid? He's so carefree. He goes out there and he plays the game with a lot of fun. Not once we mentioned when he was talking in the cameras about how a quarterback is saying hi to his family and everything, but he's having fun out there.
Yeah, and at the end of the first quarter, I mentioned that I was impressed with the zip on his throws. Now, in that second quarter, I'm impressed with his rolling out ability and his ability to evade the rush.
He's done a heck of a job. I think you got to give him a lot of credit because he's completed some tough throws and he's showing more mobility. As Leaf mentioned on the telecast, he's getting out of trouble and making some plays. And the Hamilton football team is playing the kind of game they have to try and have a chance to win. And even as well as Hamilton's playing, they've only had 1 turnover with a rookie quarterback. And Calgary's got 4 turnovers, and they're still winning by 10 points. What does that tell you?
How about you really have to be impressed with Coach Southern's defensive calls here. He is really taking a chance here. He set back, and I thought maybe they sit back and play zone or smart against them, afraid to blitz. Coach says he's come out and he's pulled all the stops out. He's blitzing the safety and making those guys play man.
But Garcia's adjusted a little bit as well. And as hard as Justanis is throwing, I think Garcia is throwing at least as hard. And it's funny because I'm talking to some players around the league this week, and they're saying that Garcia is right up there, if not the hardest thrower in the league. I know
he's up there, but maybe not close.
You don't think the hardest thrower in the league?
He does indeed have a strong arm. Matt Dunnigan is up there in terms of arm strength.
And so is Damon Allen.
Damon Allen is up there. Tracy Ham.
I don't know about Ham. I don't know if I put him in that list.
Tracy Ham throws a great ball on the run.
On the run?
On the run. On standing still. If he can do it on the run, he can do it standing still.
Well, Bob, come on, you had both. You had Tracy Ham.
No, I think when you talk about just pure arm strength, just throwing the ball with a lot of velocity.
Joe 747 Adams?
No, the guys that are playing right now. Archer's got a very strong arm throwing around the line and that type of thing. But all those quarterbacks are good quarterbacks, or they wouldn't be where they are.
Wait a minute, where's Tracy Ham ranked in that list?
I don't think his arm is as strong as some of those other guys.
When you got backup quarterbacks, even Danny Bear throws a good strong ball.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and it's funny, we don't mention Doug Flutie's name, and he's a great quarterback, of course, but he's not what? He's
but
not
when you talk about, if you want to talk about accuracy, then you go to Doug.
Exactly, and arm strength's big deal, right? You have to have, it starts with the arm, but it finishes right here. If you don't have the smarts, forget it. And Jeff Garcia is a very, very smart quarterback.
I don't want to interrupt, Darren, but Les just made a good point. I think Garcia has picked up some good pointers from Doug Flutie. He's read the blitz as well. He's laid the ball up. Pitts just outfought the halfback on that one touchdown because of a great read by the quarterback who just threw it up there when he saw all that pressure. And that's the kind of thing Doug does. He beats you with his mind, and he sees coverages, and he reads those things, and he gets it to the right people.
And maybe Larry Justanis can learn from that as well by lofting him up to the Pearl, Earl Winfield, and let him go after the football. We have to take a short break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, Corral's CFL halftime will continue. We'll preview our match tomorrow night as the Edmonton Eskimos play host to the Rough Riders, that being Saskatchewan.
You gotta go through it.
Great crowd in Hamilton tonight. It's a nice night for football, and so far they've been extremely entertained. Team's not winning yet. Maybe Larry Justanis. Could you imagine the hometown kid playing in his first ever CFL start, a roaring comeback to knock off the #1 team in the Canadian Football League in terms of defense, and the Calgary Stampeders? Would be a Cinderella story, wouldn't it? As for the Edmonton Eskimos, their story, 4-3 on the season. Danny McManus at times has been criticized for his quarterbacking abilities this year, but you know what? He's starting to come on. The Edmonton Eskimos have an outstanding defense. Tomorrow night, they will take on the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. The Rough Riders enter the football game at 2-5. The last time that these two teams had met, Robert Mims was running the ball. Ron Lancaster, the coach of the Eskies, knows they have to shut him down.
They've been able to control the football running, and sometimes when you can run the football, you take time off the clock, you beat up your opponents, you wear them down, and you can win the game in the fourth quarter a lot of times, and that's what they did to us the last time they played us. So our objective naturally is to take that away from them if we can, but they've been getting good production from their offensive line, so I'm sure they'll try that again.
We've been concentrating hard on the run this week, and ever since that game in Taylor Field when they had so much success running against us, we all, as a defense, took that pretty hard. It was a real, I think, blow to our pride. So we've worked hard on the run since, and we've improved a lot over each game. So we've been working hard against the run this week, and you'll certainly see a different run defense this week than you did in Taylor Field last time we played.
Well, tomorrow night, the Edmonton Eskimos, as aforementioned, playing host to Saskatchewan. Will Robert Mims be able to run the ball? Mimtendo, as you call him, Les Brown. Will he be able to run the ball against the Edmonton Eskimos' vaunted defense?
Well, I'll be awfully surprised if he gets another 180 yards against that Esky defense. And I'm sure those guys, with the pride that they have being such a great defensive unit, that they're going to be trying to shut the run down. And if they do, it's going to be tough for Warren to beat those guys throwing the ball.
I'll tell you something. The Edmonton Eskimos have been talking about Robert Mims all week long. Every defensive player in that locker room, they will definitely have their ears pinned back. Let's get back to our football game specifically. You talked about Don Southern blitzing a lot more in this football game, being a lot more aggressive. One of their aggressive leaders is Mike Campbell, but he took a couple of flags. You say that's reputation.
It is reputation. All of it was reputation. The 2 penalties that he got. Mike, you you see that there's a big shoving match going on in there, and there's more than one person shoving. There should be a flag thrown, no doubt, but it should be put on both teams, not just on one player. You know, because then that causes animosity between the whole game, and pretty soon there's going to be an all-out brawl going on. That where I think George Black made a mistake, and he should penalize both teams.
Not like you were involved in any brawls.
Oh, I have been, yeah. You know, I've made my apologies to the CFL every time I've got into one. Every year.
Financial apologies, too, on occasion, you know.
Les, what did you think of that edict from Jim Durrell in Ottawa about players not fraternizing?
I couldn't have played in Ottawa under those circumstances. I just don't agree with that. Fraternizing with players. They teach you in Pop Warner all the way up to junior high and everything. The players get in the line, you line up, and you go shake your opponent's hand. That is called sportsmanship. There's a thing in sports called sportsmanship, and you should be able to play with that sportsmanship. I wouldn't have been able to play in Ottawa with that kind of circumstance.
Les, telling it like it is.
Now, you did play in Ottawa for a little while, and we're very... That's when they had a good team. That's when they had a good team. That's what he keeps telling me. And Ottawa, you know what? Not a bad club. Record doesn't indicate that. You kind of feel sorry for that franchise. You really do have to sympathize with them. We'll take a short break and return on the CFL Live. Well, the guys are still chatting about that first half here in the studio. The Hamilton Tiger Cats played very well. Calgary Stampeders with some uncharacteristic turnovers. For their thoughts, let's go to Gordon Lee.
Well, Darren, the prescription for the Hamilton Ticats was pretty simple. Hope the offense wouldn't be too inconsistent and hope the defense could hold them in the game. Well, so far, pretty much so good, but Calgary leads 20-10 after the first half. And the numbers tell a pretty interesting story for the Calgary Stampeders, who are not by any measure themselves. 4 turnovers in the first half lead, and yet they still have the 10-point lead.
Well, I think for Hamilton, you know, they played about as well as they could in that first half. The defense, I thought, played enough good plays to keep them in it. And, of course, they're just kind of waiting for Larry Justanis to see if he's going to be able to do so. I mean, I think it's really a tough order, but I think Hamilton should go into the locker room at halftime feeling pretty good about only being down by 10. And I think Calgary should feel pretty good because they had a pretty sluggish first half, and they're ahead by 10. So I think both teams are probably feeling pretty good about the way they played, but I'm not sure if Hamilton's got enough to pull this one out.
The difference is only one of them will feel good at the end, and we'll see if they shake hands afterwards. Back with more on the CFL Live when we continue in just a moment.
If you're going to throw that ball, you don't fall.
First half very much like his team. Early problems, namely this fumble, which led to a Hamilton Ticat field goal. But he came back later in the half and caught the touchdown pass, his 4th reception of the year, helping Calgary enjoy the 20-10 lead that it enjoys now. Alan Pitts with 103 yards receiving in the first half of this game, his 3rd 100-yard game of the season. And you mentioned that Jeff Garcia doesn't throw a lot to the slot backs, but Alan Pitts has really been the beneficiary of Jeff Garcia. These two really have that chemistry, although Pitts is lining, you know, to call Pitts a slot back and other guys wide receivers, they line up all over the place. It's almost a misnomer the way Calgary runs this offense.
Well, I think they always go for good matchups, and a lot of times the matchup may indicate that Alan Pitts goes outside, and it really doesn't matter, but I think Dave Sapunjis only 1 catch in that first half, so still, you know, they haven't been able to get the football into him. He has been double-teamed a lot in his defense, though, tonight.
So the numbers for both quarterbacks through the opening half. Jeff Garcia is 18 for 26 for a touchdown with 2 interceptions. Larry Justanis is 9 for 13 for 130 yards and a touchdown. But the problem is when the offense did misfire, Calgary took advantage and scored the points.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter, Gord, really is that the pressure is squarely on the Hamilton defense. It's not so much on the offense, because I don't think you're going to expect Larry Justanis to come out and out-duel Jeff Garcia and win the football game. So clearly the pressure on Hamilton's defense. I think if they can hold Calgary to 10 points in this second half, which is a really tall order, I think they've got a shot to win the football game.
You know, we talked earlier about Vince Danielson from the Calgary Stampeders being a former quarterback like Larry Justanis, and it's interesting to look at the career paths of the two players. They were both drafted as quarterbacks out of college, but both were told that they would not play quarterback in the Canadian Football League. Vince Danielson was a quarterback at UBC, but when Calgary drafted him, they said, you're going to be a slot back. Same thing for Larry Justanis. He was drafted by BC and told that he would be a slot back. He said, no, thank you, went back to college and came back out and said, I'm determined to play quarterback in the Canadian Football League. And interesting, too, we talked about Justanis being from the Hamilton area. How good do you think the Glendale High School football team was a couple of years ago? 3 players for the Hamilton Ticats right now went to that high school at the same time. Larry Justanis, Frank Maroff, and Rob Hitchcock, the safety, were all teammates on the high school team. But guess what? Hitchcock was the quarterback. Justanis wasn't.
Where do you come up with all this stuff?
Oh, these guys are very proud of their high schools. Where did you go to high school?
Northern Secondary.
Come on, baby, flat out,
proud of it?
flat out,
Very
baby,
proud of it. Army Europe went there. Neil Lumsden, the Vice President of Operations here, went there.
Ask me where I went to high school.
Who cares?
Strathcona Composite High School. Clarence Campbell went to school.
Oh, good, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Brian Fryer.
You know what I want to say about Larry Justanis? We watched him warming up on the sidelines. I made the comment in our studio show last night about Larry Justanis being drafted as a slot back, maybe because teams felt that his release was a little slow. And I really felt like that when I watched him in his first game. But watching him tonight live, I feel like maybe I was a little hasty in that comment about him, because I thought when he has been able to set up and throw the football tonight, there's nothing wrong with his release. So what I said last night, having seen him live tonight, I take it back.
Ted Long takes the second half kickoff from his 15-yard line out across the 35, loses the football. Calgary has it. The opening kickoff of the second half is fumbled and recovered by the Calgary Stampeders. Daryl Hall has it, his second fumble recovery of the game.
First down, Calgary on the Tiger Cat 39-yard line.
Well, you know, like you look at Ted Long here, and that ball's kind of hanging way out at the side, and it's a pretty good target. All these Calgary Stampeders are coming down looking. If you can't make the tackle, and actually it's Raymond Biggs' helmet, 44, who pops it loose, and Daryl Hall with his second recovery, as you mentioned, Gord. But you know, you got to protect the football. I know you want to run, and sometimes at full speed you can't protect it with 2 hands, but this could be a devastating turnover.
Stampeders scored on their last drive. It was a field goal, and now they open the second half with great field possession. Jeff Garcia, time to run, and finally gets chased down. And he is run down on the play by Mike Campbell.
You know, one of the points that we talked about earlier about Garcia and Flutie, the difference that Garcia looks outside in. Another difference between the two, and maybe a reason why Sapunjas' totals are down, is Garcia, when he runs and scrambles, he scrambles to run. Flutie really scrambles to throw, and when he did that in Calgary, Sapunjas was the recipient of a lot of those throws. You saw right there, Jeff Garcia didn't hesitate one bit. When everybody was covered, he just simply ran with the football.
Now on second and long, Garcia, deep drop and a deep throw looking for Pitts, wide open, touchdown! No! They say no catch! Pitts made the catch, was wide open, ran into the end zone, and lost the ball. They say no catch and no touchdown.
Well, you're going to get a great look at this at ISO, working on Kevin Gaines. He's going to get separation over the top. Watch the right arm, a little push right here, and Gaines gets all tripped up. You be the judge. Did he have it?
Where was he when he dropped the ball?
I think you could clearly call that a fumble and a recovery and a touchdown. I mean, I know we saw it in slow motion, and sometimes that doesn't give you the true action. I'm going to ask to see that again in live action, so we don't see slow motion. Maybe you'll get a better perspective on that one.
Get it again, Al, get it again.
Well, it makes Mark McLaughlin now try the field goal. His last 2 were 29 yards. This try comes from just outside the 43. And the CFL's most accurate field goal kicker has done it again. His third field goal of the game gives Calgary a 23-10 lead, but you can bet the Stamps think it should be more, and we're going to have another look at it.
Yeah, well, this is in
super slow. Now here's the look. Now if he's in the end zone, it's a touchdown.
Well, he's not in the end zone.
Not in the end zone yet. That's the goal line right there. But still, did he have it long enough to recover his own fumble? That's the question. And I'm sure Pitts thinks he should have his own 5th touchdown of the year. And I'm sure we'll get another look at that and see exactly what happened. Right now, the Hamilton Ticats with their first offensive possession of this second half after they fumbled the second half kickoff. Justanis gives off to Tony Stewart. And Stewart tries the left side, and there he runs into none other than Gonzalo Floyd, who made life tough on him.
You know, Gord, this could really be a turning point in the game, and I asked again to see it in regular speed, because this is how you tell.
Well, let's see. 1, 2 steps.
That's a catch and a fumble. See, in regular speed, it clearly shows that is a catch and a fumble, and that should have been a touchdown. Slow motion sometimes give you that distorted view. You know, you just can't tell. But that clearly was a catch and a fumble.
Now 2nd and 10 for the Ticats. Justanis has time. Over the middle goes to Marcus Grant. Does he make the catch? Yes, they mark it as a catch, and a first down up to the Hamilton 48-yard line. And Marcus Grant has quickly become Larry Justanis' favorite target.
Now, he makes great catch here, because that's not bad coverage by Coleman from behind, but that's a good sliding catch by Marcus Grant. Well, they're going to need some key plays like this. Hamilton can't afford to make any mistakes. They're down by 13, and I'll tell you, when you got guys like Marcus Grant coming up with those kind of plays, they still have a chance.
Larry Justanis was shaken up at the end of the first half of that final play, but appears to be all right. Gives off to Tony Stewart. Alondra Johnson got in there very quickly, and Johnson limits the gain to a couple.
I'll tell you what, I haven't seen a linebacker hit the hole as quickly as Alondra Johnson has tonight. I mean, here he comes with a good, he's just reading tackle to tackle, and boom. I mean, he is right in the hole. At the same time, the ball carriers, this is tremendous speed, shoulder square, makes a solid hit on Tony Stewart. He's having a heck of a game.
A CFL All-Star a year ago for the first time in his career.
That's kind of surprising, isn't it? Of course, he's had Willie Pless and a few others to go against.
Here he comes on the blitz. He just got to the quarterback, but Justanis gets it away. Intercepted. He is picked off by Eddie Davis. And now Eddie Davis has got room to run. Waiting for blocks up the sideline. Eddie Davis inside the 25 and finally forced out of bounds at the 17-yard line. The pressure on Justanis forced the interception. And finally, he is pushed out of bounds, but not before he takes it all the way inside the 20-yard line.
And Gordon, you called the blitz coming again. It's Alondra Johnson right up the middle, and Larry Justanis trying to make something happen, just throws this up for grabs. Johnson fights off the block of Tony Stewart, makes the hit on Justanis, and this ball is literally up for grabs. But, you know, Tony Stewart just couldn't handle a blitz.
A 68-yard interception return by Eddie Davis.
Well, that's a nice catch by Eddie Davis. All of a sudden, he turns into receiver, and it's pretty healthy run back on this one as well.
Eddie Davis had a fumble recovery in the first game against Hamilton for a touchdown. Now, from the 17-yard line, Kelvin Anderson on the carry. Inside the 10 goes Kelvin Anderson and forced out of bounds at the 6-yard line. He is finally pushed out of bounds there by Kevin Gaines. And now Calgary able to run the ball at will against the Ticats.
Look at Tom Gerhardt, the outside linebacker, gets caught inside, and it's no match for the speed of Kelvin Anderson to get to the outside. Once Gerhardt took that little jab step inside, he was in big trouble.
Hamilton's problem this year has been stopping the passing game, among the league's worst pass defenses, but Calgary right now is running the ball at will. It's 1st and goal from the 6. Garcia with the give again to Kelvin Anderson. Inside the 5, a touchdown! Kelvin Anderson with his 2nd of the game and his 9th rushing touchdown of the year.
And the linebackers have to make the play on that one, and Tom Gerhardt again just couldn't get there. And you know, when you're in this kind of a situation on the draw, they double team Philbrick on the nose, and it's the linebackers that have to make the plays for Hamilton, and they're just not getting the job done.
And Kelvin Anderson scores his 10th touchdown of the year overall.
Well, you see Montfort overruns it, and then Gerhardt can't get off the block, and when he does, he falls down. And, you know, the front 4 on the draw really has to get some support from the linebacker crew, and they just didn't get it there.
Mark McLaughlin with the point after. It is good, and the Calgary Stampeders have bolted out of the gate here in the second half. Now a 30-10 lead over Hamilton. I don't know if he has trouble getting through a metal detector, but he's had no trouble getting through the Hamilton defense tonight. Kelvin Anderson scores his 2nd touchdown of the game to cap off the drive that takes advantage of the turnover. What? You didn't like that one?
That was all right.
You're a tough room. You're a tough audience tonight. I don't know. Mark McLaughlin kicks it off, and this is Matt Cody from the Hamilton 14-yard line. And Cody gets out across the 35 to the 36. Well, the problem for Don Southern's team is they fumbled the second half kickoff, gave up a field goal, threw an interception, and gave up a touchdown. I'm sure that wasn't in the halftime talk. But Don Southern's team has had a habit of going south after the Labor Day weekend. Before September 1st, his teams were 11-6. After September 1st, they're 4-16. Of note, he took over the Ticats in August of 1994, so some of those losses after September 1st came in his first year, but still, they're markedly better in the first half of the season than they are in the second.
I think they need something good to happen on this drive because Calgary has come out quickly, as you mentioned, and put 10 points on the board. I don't think Hamilton, I mean, this isn't a catch-up kind of team right now that they can overcome 20-point difference. So,
but it's not a catch-up type of defense that Calgary puts out there either. The Calgary Stampeders, by the way,
that's a good point. I mean, on the other side, yeah, we're not playing against a defense that may allow you to do that.
Yeah, the Calgary Stampeders have won every game, have led every game this year at the half, and are 6-1. But Eddie Davis turns in the big play, as you mentioned, the 68-yard interception return. Eddie Davis with his second interception of the year. And another guy that they brought along slowly, they actually got him from Birmingham in the dispersal draft. He didn't play that much for Birmingham, but Wally Buono liked him. And Frank Spaziani, the defensive coordinator on the left, did too.
Yeah, Frank said, and what he has done tonight was to throw a lot of different things at Larry Justanis early and then settle into their normal defensive package. I think you've seen a little more blitzing tonight from Calgary than they normally might do, and I don't think it's unusual that they would do that against Larry Justanis. An interesting point Frank Spaziani made tonight. He said the easiest thing for a young quarterback to read is man-to-man coverage, and I agree with that. He said some of the more complex zones where you play man one side, half zone the other, he said that's what we're probably getting to try and confuse them, and they have done a pretty good job with it.
Justanis up to throw on first down, and looking deep for Marcus Grant. He's open, but he can't hang on to it, and a flag is down. Marvin Coleman came in there late, and Marvin Coleman will be called for pass interference on Marcus Grant.
Well, initially, Marcus Grant came from the backside, and Coleman caught up in a hurry to that one. They're going to sort it out, and the way they're walking, I'm not so sure who this is going against.
Whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, everyone's kind of walking back. And this is a major league huddle going on at the 40-yard line.
Illegal block to the head, Hamilton number 60. Forward pass interference, Calgary number 17.
Aha.
Well, the hit to the head was by Dwayne Morgan, their right tackle, but here you see Coleman. He made up a lot of ground. The ball slightly underthrown. It allowed him to do that. I'll tell you, that's not a lot of contact there. I mean, I have yet to see the pass interference. You might see it a little better from this angle, but I have yet to see that. I mean, that's just pretty solid defensive play.
So they'll just do it over again. It's like it never happened. 1st and 10 from the 35. It was all an illusion. Justanis has some time, and look out, now he doesn't, and he is down. Stu Laird gets in with his second sack of the year. The 13-year veteran just bided his time and hunted Larry Justanis down. And Stu Laird, who rotates in on that Calgary defensive line, has a sack.
And he's just getting leverage on the outside. 75 up,
Illegal
just waiting.
contact on an eligible receiver, Calgary number 17.
And then they make a sack, but it was the zone coverage. They rolled up the corner on the short side of the field, and again, that confused Larry Justanis.
Remember how it didn't happen last time? This time it did happen. Marvin Coleman gets called for pass interference. Now it's first down at the 46 for Hamilton. So Coleman got called for illegal contact on 2 consecutive plays.
Well, he had rolled up in the short zone, and he made contact with Marcus Grant as he was trying to get by him, and that's what they called.
Marvin says, what did I do? I mean, did I run over someone's dog? And now they want to talk over the clock again? Yeah, they're going to put some time back on the clock. So, geez, are we in a time warp here? Time isn't happening. Plays aren't occurring. We've wandered into the twilight zone. And here's a look at what happened on that last play.
Well, his job is to jam the receiver and then let him go.
That was it.
I've yet to see. I mean, you're allowed that jam. I don't know. He's been jobbed twice. I think they haven't hit for Coleman tonight.
Maybe he owes somebody money.
I mean, when you're playing in his zone coverage for
Please
eternity,
reset the clock at 9:17.
All right,
9:17.
But when you're playing the zone defense from eternity, you have been taught when a guy comes in your area initially, give him the jam and then pass him off to the next
Please
guy.
reset
and get
the
ready
clock
for the
at
person who's probably going to come into your area. And that is good defense. There's nothing wrong with that.
Les Brown right now is freaking out at our CFL Live Control Center.
He's in convulsions.
Les is standing up. He's thrown his coat. He's thrown his chair. He's thrown his pen. He can't believe it. George is having a hard time getting his message through here. They want the clock at 9:17, and it's just not happening. There we go, 9:17. And the crowd giving it to George Black. Tomorrow, down in Narcisse, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders take on the Edmonton Eskimos. You heard about it at halftime. Saskatchewan ran wild against Edmonton in their first meeting. And really the only time the Edmonton defense has been burned badly this year. Now on first down, here comes the blitz from Calgary. Justanis has time and has Jason Phillips open across midfield. He gets down to the Calgary 53-yard line and should have another Hamilton first down. And poor Marvin Coleman, penalties and footballs flying his way.
Well, he's a terrific corner, though. I mean, since he has become a starter, he's got 3 interceptions this year. A lot of teams really don't go at him that much. They just have happened to be a lot of action in his area on the last 3 plays, but he is a terrific one-on-one cover guy.
Told me yesterday that there was a couple of games ago where there was only 2 footballs thrown to his side. Look out, Justanis is down again. A free shot for Kenton Leonard, who comes in on the halfback blitz. And it's the second time in this game that Larry Justanis has been a sitting duck.
And here's Kenton Leonard here. They also get good pressure from Will Johnson that below, so there's no place for Justanis to go. He can't run away from this blitz because Johnson is coming too, but you know, man, that's the second time tonight that Justanis has really taken a big shot.
Well, you got a choice there. You can let Will Johnson hit you. He weighs 246. Or you let Kenton Leonard hit you. He weighs 163.
I know the choice.
Yeah. I'll take Kenton Leonard for 100, please, Alex.
Yeah, but Larry Justanis is just not ready to read the hot routes, and I'm not sure they have.
Whoa, look down. He got hammered again, and this is picked off by Daryl Hall. Larry Justanis got drilled, and Daryl Hall has the interception down at the Calgary 51-yard line, and Larry Justanis very slow getting up.
You know what? He's not getting a lot of help from his running backs tonight. I mean, this is about the 3rd time. Here's Johnson, hold it here. Here's the running back. I'm not sure who it is, but he absolutely flags Johnson on the blitz, and Johnson gets a free shot at Justanis. I mean, what the heck are you doing there? Dropping your head, and your quarterback gets absolutely drilled. I think it's Tony Stewart. I will stand to correct it if it's not him, but my, oh my. It is Tony Stewart, and that's just an awful hit for your quarterback to take, and it results in the interception. He's having a whale of a game, Alonzo Johnson is. That's a poor job at picking up the blitz by your running back.
Whoa, look out. Dave Sapundis was about 5 yards offside. He's trying to throw out the anchor there, and it just wouldn't go. Dave Sapundis loves coming to Southern Ontario. He's got lots of family here from Toronto who made the trip down the QEW to Hamilton. And you know what Calgary players are already talking about? Usually this time of year they're talking about the Labor Day games against Edmonton. They're talking about the game against Toronto.
Calgary number 25.
Doug Flutie playing against his old team.
Late in September is the first meeting.
Dave Sapundis said tonight, I mean, obviously you thought about the game that's coming up. It's September 21st, I believe, on a Saturday. And he said it's going to be in a very emotional game.
Jeff Garcia was looking forward to it as well. And, you know, Doug Flutie had perhaps his worst game as a pro quarterback in the playoff meeting against Hamilton. 4 interceptions he threw in the first half, and Jeff Garcia replaced him in the second half. Now 1st and 15. Garcia has all day, throws it back to the middle, and Alan Pitts tipped it up, but it was almost picked off on the play by Tom Gerhardt. But it falls incomplete.
Alan Pitts does a terrific job. Watch him read zone. Okay, now he's reading zone right here. He stops in the hole. The hole squeezes down, so he looks for a new hole in behind Gerhardt. Gerhardt can't locate the football, but You know, again, Alan Pitt, you know, terrific man-to-man. He's had some good catches against that tonight, but extremely adept at finding the open spot in the zone, and when it's not there, creating one.
Now 2nd and 15 for the Stamps. Here comes the blitz. Garcia, they pick it up. He's looking for Pitts, and he can't make the catch. Alan Pitts working on Deeds. Flags are down. The crowd can't believe it. They can't believe there's pass interference flags down here. And George Black and the officiating crew are checking it out. Kevin Deeds is absolutely beside himself. I'll tell you what, if this is against Hamilton, look out.
Major foul, face mask, Hamilton number 24. First down.
They call the face mask on Kevin Gaines.
Now you're going to get a good look at it. To the judge, speed turn by Gaines. Pretty good speed turn. Can he close the gap in time? Well,
right there at the end. Yeah, he's got the mask.
You bet. You know, we're going to save this play, though, because the difference, you know, here you get a big play. Calgary did a super job at picking up the safety blitz to allow Garcia time to throw, and that's been the difference, the little things.
Now on 1st and 10, they give off to Kelvin Anderson, and Anderson is stopped up after a gain of 2. Let's go back to that play.
Yeah, you bet, because this is the difference. You know, you got a safety blitz coming, and Garcia realizing, here's Rob Hitchcock, here's Kelvin Anderson. What's the difference when Rob Hitchcock hits the line of scrimmage? I mean, he doesn't get flagged by the running back. He gets taken on. See, they recognize it. Boom, he gets cartwheeled right here, and Garcia has time to deliver against a 7-man rush. That is the difference between these two teams.
Gain by Anderson was less than a yard. It's 2nd and 9. Now Garcia throwing off 1 foot gets it to Anderson. Anderson is dragged down at the 42-yard line. He'll be well short of a Calgary first down. And Tom Gerhardt, the former San Antonio Texan and Hamilton Ticat before that, makes the stop.
And Gerhardt's had a tough time chasing receivers and running backs tonight. They really have kind of worked him over. And I've really been impressed, Corey. This is my first chance to see Kelvin Anderson tonight, and that's a tough catch that he made right there because you're going laterally the line of scrimmage, and it's a tough one to make, and he has looked pretty sharp.
You know, it's interesting that Gerhardt plays that so-called tweener position.
Yes.
You know, bigger than a defensive back, but smaller than a linebacker. Two schools of thought of it. Some people say, you know, you're too small to be effective as a linebacker and too effective to be effective as a DB.
And I think he's been caught in the middle on both those scenarios tonight.
How about this? 5:32 to go in the 3rd quarter. Tony Martino punts for the first time.
Won't have to clean his uniform tonight.
He was at the drive-in in the first half. He got his suits clean. He gets a great kick away. Sam Rogers sees it bounce into the end zone, and be careful, it might come out. It does. They pick it up quickly. Flags are down for no yards. And so Hamilton might get a break there. A 40-yard punt and a bounce back of 3, and Tony Martino can go back to his dinner. 5:09 to play in the 3rd quarter. Back with more from Hamilton right after this. Hey, there's Big Miles Gorell in his 19th year. It all began for him with the Calgary Stampeders in 1978. And now he tries to help protect his quarterback. Justanis rolls out, gets across the line of scrimmage. Oh, man, did he get hit again by Alondra Johnson. Larry Justanis paused at the last second and got drilled.
And here's what I suggested. They did this play to Will Johnson, and he took the quarterback and let the running back have it. Here's how you play it. Here's Stu Laird. He's going to take the running back and make Justanis run with the football and watch what happens. You'd much rather tackle the quarterback and give him a good shot. That's a heck of a play by Stu Laird. Make Justanis do it. You got Will Johnson coming. You got Alondra Johnson. Oof. That's not a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. He took a lick at the end of that play.
And that's the right play to make by a veteran, Stu Laird.
Loss of 4. Justanis under pressure again. Almost had it intercepted. That would have been 6. If Eddie Davis had been able to squeeze that, he would have been in the end zone before you could have blinked your eyes.
Well, again, pressure right in the face of Larry Justanis. I mean, you know, Calgary's just bringing a lot of people to the right of your screen. Again, it's McClanahan. Tony Stewart gets pushed right back in. Eddie Davis, I mean, you know, he knows that's a free one right there. Calgary's, they're just having fun on defense now. They're blitzing,
Well,
they're playing
you got a
hard.
20-point lead. You know Hamilton's got to throw the ball.
Absolutely.
And these guys are just putting their ears back and coming after.
But they are having fun, aren't they?
Oh, no question. Hey, it's Christmas now, right?
That's right.
They're like the coyote when he sees the roadrunner. He sees a roast. That's what they see when they see just Dennis. Ball is, and we'll punt it off to Marvin Coleman. Good deep kick by Osballis, and Coleman driven back to his 34-yard line. And Coleman runs into his own guy, and that helps Sam Rogers finish him off. A 53-yard punt for a third of 8. Marvin Coleman shaken up on the play with 3:44 to go in the third quarter. Wally Buono was a pretty good player in his day, a linebacker for the Montreal Alouettes, won a Grey Cup with them. And Don Southern was a great player in his day, a Hall of Famer. He owns 3 playoff records, most converts in the Grey Cup, all-time most kickoffs in the Grey Cup, and most career interceptions in the postseason. Don Southern was truly a money player. Right now, his team meets some big plays. Down by 20 with 3:35 to go in the third quarter. Calgary has the ball at its own 43. Garcia under pressure over the middle for Alan Pitts. And Alan Pitts has the catch just as easy as you please up to midfield, a gain of 13 yards. And the game story so far, Jeff Garcia having a workmanlike night. Larry Justanis was too, but he's been getting some horrific hits. Both teams have turned the ball over 4 times, and Alan Pitts in the first half, 6 catches for 103 yards and a touchdown. And Pitts is limping, but stays in. On first down, Garcia unloads, looking for Dave Sapunjas, but it's a one-hopper, and now a flag comes down well away from the play where Vince Danielson and Sam Rogers were jousting. And it's pass interference against Calgary. This happened about 20 yards away from the play. And the downfield officials have been busy tonight.
Forward pass interference, Calgary number 88.
So they get Danielson working on Rogers, and that'll negate the gain and take the Stampeders back into their own end.
I did not see the penalty.
All I saw was Sam Rogers rolling away from him at the end of the play, and I suspect that's what the officials saw too. So now 1st and 20 for the Stamps from their own 46. Here comes the rush. Garcia has lots of time, and Pitts makes another catch. Don Robinson working on it, but Alan Pitts has his 2nd catch on this drive that takes him to midfield.
Well, I give Alan Pitts a lot of cushion. Watch how he finds the spot coming right up into this open area right in there. Watch how he works to just get open. I mean, look at Robinson. He's looking inside to try and help out. When the ball's in the air, he breaks on it, leaves his man, and yet Pitts, with an acrobatic move, still makes the catch.
Can I just say now about your drawing? I've been working with you for 6 years now. You're getting a bit more impressionist now. Back to the original line of scrimmage. It's 2nd and 10. Garcia may take off. Lots of room to run. Garcia, oh man, did he take a hit? Jeff Garcia put his head down and went right through Tom Gerhardt and Jason Kaiser. The Stamps wins when he runs like that, but he should have a Calgary 1st down. And there's a big red stripe on Jason Kaiser's helmet. I think that's from Jeff Garcia.
Well, you'll see him come into your picture right here, and he just decides to take on Kevin Gaines and put his head down, go for an extra few yards.
And the Stamps have been trying to get him to stop running like that, but...
Well, I think they would like him to be more Doug Flutie-like, where he runs to throw. I mean, right now he is running to run.
On first down, the give goes to Kelvin Anderson, and he runs smack into Mike Philbrick and Tom Gerhardt, who make the stop.
Tom Gerhardt on the stop.
Well, you know, a lot of people talked about the Flutie factor when he left Calgary. Here are the numbers for Calgary in 95 after 7 games and in 96. And you know what? There's not really a big difference, except that Calgary runs the ball a lot more effectively, averaging 30 more yards a game. After the opening win at home against Winnipeg, the headline in the Calgary paper the next day was Doug Who, with a big picture of Jeff Garcia on the front. Garcia unloads just as he gets hit. A foot race. Terry Vaughn, touchdown!
Garcia's pretty proud of that pass. That was a beauty. And that's the difference that we saw in that graphic. Flutie was 66% last year and a lot more controlled passing game. Garcia has brought a different element to this team. Make no mistake. He will go up over the top a lot more, use the wide receivers a lot more, and this is a thing of beauty. Just watch the effort by Terry Vaughn.
Yeah, Don Robinson working on him, just mistimed his jump.
I mean, that is perfect coverage, and yet the pass beat you. Yes, it was a terrific catch, but my goodness, you cannot throw the ball any better than that.
Jeff Garcia congratulated him so hard he took Terry Vaughn's helmet off.
Well, you know, I saw when the pass was caught and Vaughn went in the end zone, Garcia took off, and I'll bet you that's the pass he's as happy about tonight that he's completed.
Mark McLaughlin puts the point after up and good. 12 seconds to go here in the third quarter. And very gently, the Calgary Stampeders are turning this into a romp. They led 17-10 late in the first half. It's now 37-10.
He has got a very strong arm, and you know, as I said a moment ago, he has brought a real downtown element to this team. Not that they wouldn't do it in the past, they just do it a little more now than they did in the past, and this is a perfectly thrown football.
17 unanswered points for the Calgary Stampeders in the second half. They lead this game 37-10.
Gordon, you know what impressed me tonight in the warm-up down on the field? You and I were talking in a lot of the Calgary Stampeders, but their receivers and quarterbacks, they come out about an hour and a half before the game, and they go through a very, very vigorous workout. And I'm telling you, this is a team that does not lack of the work ethic. These guys, for about 35 minutes, went really hard an hour and a half before the game.
Scoring drive capped off by the Terry Vaughn 40-yard touchdown reception. His third touchdown reception of the year, but his first in the last 6 games. And you know what, Leif, you got to say that the work ethic of the Calgary Stampeders, the way they do things, is a direct reflection of their head coach.
Oh, I don't think there's any question. Wally Buono always a stickler for fitness and practice, and John Huffnagel too. I think he brings that to the offense.
Should make that point. The assistant coaches in Calgary, a very stable group as well.
It's a terrific staff. Best staff in the league, I think.
Jason Kaiser on the kickoff return down to the 26-yard line.
I think Donnie Matthews has a terrific staff in Toronto as well, but I think Calgary's, you know, Frank Spaziani, Bob Vespasiani, Tony Marciano, you got Chuck McMahon and John Huffnagel. These are guys with tremendous amount of experience and knowledge, and they're all players, coaches. They really are.
Well, the question is, when is he going to be a head coach in the CFL?
When he gets the right job. He's not going to take any job, and I really respect him for that decision. He could have been a head coach 2 or 3 times already, but it hasn't been the right situation, and he's with a solid organization. And, I mean, he's just sharpening his skills more and more, and you know, it'll come.
Right now.
And you bet he'll be ready.
Right now, he's driving the best car in the league. From the 28-yard line, Larry Justanis throwing back across his body, almost picked up. He was looking there for Marcus Grant. You know, Leif, you make the interesting point about that when you talk about the Calgary Stampeders and Hamilton Ticats, 2 franchises that struggled at one point not so long ago and now very stable. And right now, the Calgary Stampeders extremely stable, leading 37-10. Stand by now for our CFL Live Control Center.
On our big screen TV. Join us Thursday through Saturday at the
CFL Live at the Quarter, brought to you by Gillette's $250,000 Triple Play Challenge at a retailer near you.
Well, gentlemen, as much fun as that first half was, this third quarter was extremely long and painful for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and it could have been worse, too. Alan Pitts legitimately did have a touchdown, but had it taken away from him.
There's a good argument on this.
This is a good point where we talked about a couple weeks ago, and Marty brought up bringing back the instant replay if possible, especially in the goal line area, as Mr. Perrier mentioned. And in this case, it looks like Pitts had possession of the ball, took a couple of steps,
he didn't catch it,
fumbled the ball, and then picked it up, which would have given him a touchdown.
You have to have the ball for 2 steps. He did not have it. He had it for 1, and he juggled it. It's a good call. Very good call.
We disagree. We need that instant replay.
That's an excellent call. When he ran it back slow for us, when we weren't on camera, you could actually see. You have to have the ball for exactly 2 steps. When he caught the ball, he had it for 1 step. The second step, it came out, and he started to juggle it. That's an excellent call. I give referees crap, and I have to give this referee an excellent A on that one.
Yeah, but you know what?
Call.
Like Leaf and Gord, like Leaf and Gord had said during the one play, you were ready to throw the jacket up.
Because you teach that, man, in high school and everything. That was
good play by Coleman.
He played it picture perfect. You're supposed to push the guy in so number 30 could pick him up, and he did it exactly.
Praising the officials. That's a first. I want to say something about Justanis, because we talked about how impressive he was in the first half. And in the third quarter there, he reminded me a lot of what happened with Steve Taylor last night. His performance deteriorated, just like Taylor's did in the third quarter last night. And that's what happens. The good teams adjust to quarterbacks after halftime. And the good teams, Darren, are not Ottawa, but Toronto and Calgary. And I can't wait till those 2 teams meet on September 21st.
No, I didn't say that Ottawa was a good football team. I say that Ottawa perhaps is a little bit better than the record indicates, and you have to sympathize with them. But your point's well taken. Good teams know how to win even when they don't play their best football. We saw that last night. Let's return to the fourth quarter of play at Ivor Wynn.
Thanks very much, guys. What game was Les Brown watching?
Oh, it was a fumble. It was a catch and a fumble. I don't know.
First down, Larry Justanis looks for Marcus Grant, finds him this time up to the 47-yard line. It'll be Hamilton's first down as Larry Justanis and Marcus Grant hook up again. The question now for the Ticats is, how long can they persevere until their quarterbacking situation is figured out? Remember, their backup is Marvin Graves, who was just signed this week. He's only been here for 3 days. Anthony Calvillo, who was Matt Dunnigan's backup, is at least 3 weeks away from coming back. And, of course, everyone wants to know, what is Matt Dunnigan's situation? Don Southern said yesterday he will not do anything to jeopardize Matt Dunnigan's long-term health. And Marty York reported this week that Dunnigan's wife wants him to consider retirement after this latest concussion.
Well, I think she is very nervous, and rightfully so. I mean, obviously she wants to have a life after football with her husband. And, you know, I thought it was an interesting article today in the Toronto Star quoting Al Toon, former wide receiver with the New York Jets, who retired after getting a number of neurological opinions. And it was finally, the decision was that, you know, if he wanted to have his faculties later on in life, he better make the very hard decision to retire. And he said, I don't know Matt Dunnigan personally, but what I would suggest is that he have at least 4 or 5 neurological opinions and then make the best possible decision for his future, because there is life after football, and there's more to life than just playing.
You know, a lot of guys just tell funny stories about getting knocked out. You always heard, you know, had the bell rung, heard the whistle, didn't see the train coming. No one's joking about it now. It's very serious. Ask Brett Lindros, who had to retire from the National Hockey League at the age of 21. There's an injured player for the Ticats down on the field now. Just what they wanted to see. Dale Sanderson is hurt, and the Ticats have been absolutely racked.
You know, going back to Al Toon's comments today in the paper, I mean, he said that now he still has moments of dizziness, and he is disoriented at times, and his memory is not as good as it once was. And I mean, these are very serious things to consider.
By the way, the attendance tonight is 20,072, and there's a note from the Ticats that the White Zombie concert tonight at Copps Coliseum might have taken away from the crowd a bit. I know, Leaf, you had tickets to the White Zombie concert, and we're looking very forward to going there, but couldn't make it tonight.
You know what? It's really a tragedy.
Justanis looking for Earl Winfield, who's been a quiet man tonight, and Earl Winfield loses the football for the second time. And if Darryl Hall has it, that's his third fumble recovery of the night. I don't think he got it, but he almost did.
Looked like he was going to get it.
And I think Rodney Harding's got the ball, and Rodney's hurt.
Rodney Harding recovered the fumble, and he is the injured Stampeder.
Wow. That's the second time Earl Winfield has fumbled.
It's tough. I mean, clearly the Calgary Stampeder defense, they try to strip the football when they can. Al Jordan with the left hand popped in there and knocked it loose, and you know, tough to tell who ends up making the recovery. I think it is Rodney Harding, in fact.
And Rodney Harding is the injured Calgary Stampeder. Here are the numbers through 3 quarters, and you can see the Calgary Stampeders slowly taking charge of this football game now with a better than 2-1 margin in net yards, and both teams had turned the ball over 4 times, and now Hamilton has turned it over a 5th.
Tonight's attendance,
And Rodney Harding makes his way slowly off the field.
Yeah, Rodney Harding, since coming over to the Calgary Stampeders, 4 sacks to lead his club coming into this game tonight. In fact, it was voted by the coaches 2 games ago as defensive player on their team, and that's a tough act to win with all those great players. So he is being productive in that defense.
The Stamps with the ball at the 50-yard line, and Garcia, or pardon me, Barrett from the shotgun. Barrett looking up the sidelines and incomplete. Looking there for Terry Vaughn. Well, you know, talking to Wally Buono earlier this season, he said that, you know, Danny Barrett came into the game against Montreal and threw a lot of passes. They said, we don't put him in there just to hand the ball off. He's got to play.
I'm telling you, and I'm glad he's playing tonight, because I had a wonderful conversation with him before the game when they were having that really hard workout period, an hour and a half before the ball game. And I watched him for about 5-10 minutes, and then we started talking. I said, your arm looks spectacular. I said, you look like a kid. He said, my arm is unbelievable. My knee is still sore. I don't run as well as I did. But he said, my arm strength is as good as it's ever been, and I concur with that.
Danny Barrett up and firing, has his man Dave Sapunjas, and that was a rocket from Barrett against Sapunjas inside the 35 to the 33. A flag is down, and you can tax him on to the end of this because Hamilton hit Danny Barrett late. And if this is Mike Campbell, that'll be his 3rd 15-yard penalty of the game.
Major foul, roughing the passer, Hamilton number 98.
It's him.
First down.
Wow. 3 major penalties against Mike Campbell in this game.
Well, I mean, the ball is gone, and when you go up around the head, had he hit him, I mean, that is marginal. I know it's marginal. You're shaking your head at it. The fact of the matter was he took his hand and he went up around Danny Barrett's throat in the head area, and they're going to call that every time, and I agree with it. I know you don't, but I agree.
Oh, I don't disagree with it.
In the head area, call it.
I just think it's close.
Not close when they hit him in the head.
On first down, Danny Barrett tosses it off to Kelvin Anderson. Tries to get side of the field. Gets about 4 tough yards down to the 15-yard line.
How about the arm strength on that Barrett throw to Sapunjas?
Well, it's funny, you know, Danny was saying to me earlier in the year that the one thing about it is, you know, when you're the starting quarterback, and remember, too, that Danny Barrett played for some not very good football teams like Ottawa. He was throwing the ball 50, 60 times a game in games, taking the first snaps in practice. This guy was throwing the ball thousands of times a year.
I think that's an excellent comment.
Danny Barrett, of course, set the record a couple of years ago with 601 yards passing in a game against Toronto. And a year later, Matt Dunnigan broke the record against Edmonton.
John Wells and I did that game. I'll never forget it was in BC Place.
Now Barrett kind of side arms it looking for Anderson and falls incomplete. Don Robinson was over there on the coverage. So Mark McLaughlin in the field goal unit will come on for the Calgary Stampeders. Just wanted to follow up on a point we made just before the end of the 3rd quarter. Lee, think back to when Wally Buono took over the Calgary Stampeders. A team in trouble off the field, a lot of inconsistency, a lot of turmoil, not a bit of it since. Think about when Don Sutherland took over the Hamilton Ticats, a team really struggling, the revolving door. You could throw the media guide out after about the 5th week of the season, and look at the stability they've got here in Hamilton now. It really is a testament to those 2 guys.
And ironically, Don Sutherland left as defensive coordinator of Calgary to become the head coach of the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, as they say.
Oh, that's right.
Mark McLaughlin with his try from 22 yards out, and Mark McLaughlin just keeps on clicking along. Now 4 for 4 on the night, and Calgary with a 40-10 lead. In the early moments of this game, we laughed about how Larry Justanis was smiling on the sidelines, waving, saying hi to everyone, and then he ran into these guys. And this is a little sample of what Larry Justanis' first start has been like tonight. This is Alondra Johnson. Out. This is Marvin Polk. Oh. This is a group effort. Kenton Leonard finishes it off. There's Tony McClanahan getting in there. Oh, Alondra Johnson again. I'll tell you what. Tomorrow, Larry Justanis will just put one gigantic ice bag on his whole body.
He has taken some shit.
His eyelids will hurt tomorrow. Oof. And he's not smiling anymore. On first down, here he goes back again. The triumph of hope over experience, and he goes down again, and this time Will Johnson gets him with the sack. And Will Johnson has his 4th sack of the year. 6 straight years, Will Johnson has sacked the quarterback 10 or more times, and he's on pace to do it again.
I mean, it's just extra effort. I mean, we have shown a lot of great efforts by Calgary defensive players tonight, but again, Will Johnson at the top of the screen, you know, he's going to take on the block of Dwayne Morgan, and that's upper body strength, and he just pushes Morgan away, and Larry Gistanis again takes another shot.
Will Johnson, the former Dallas police officer, gave it all up to be a 5-time CFL All-Star.
Yeah, only 94 sacks in 121 games. That's not production, is it?
Oh, look out. I'll tell you what, Calgary was showing big-time blitz, and it looks like Hamilton just blinked. They moved before the snap, and I mean, Calgary was bringing the house.
Time count violation, Hamilton number 8.
Larry Gistanis looked up and saw about 7 Calgary Stampeders coming, and he just wouldn't call for the ball.
But I think that may be the prudent play for the rest of this game when they line up like that.
Well, normally when a quarterback is starting, the backup wants to get in. The last place Marvin Graves wants to be right now is in the game.
I think Marvin's hiding down at the end of the bench right now.
From the shotgun. Gistanis finally gets some time. Now runs back into the trouble. Sidearms and picked off. Marvin Coleman, and this will be a touchdown. Marvin Coleman scored 2 touchdowns on interception returns in the playoff game last year. He's got his 4th interception of the year and a 33-yard touchdown.
And he should give half of it to Will Johnson, because Johnson was all over Gistanis' back when he let the ball go. And it's a silly pass, not unlikely that Gistanis would throw it in the heat of battle here. I mean, the game was over.
That's about a 60-yard throw to get it back to the other side of the field.
There's no shot here. You're just asking to get picked off, and I don't think anybody's going to be overly upset about it. It's a mistake he made. They're going to have to live with it with the quarterbacking situation they have.
Marvin Coleman, by the way, had a punt return for a touchdown called back last week against the BC Lions, so he finally has his touchdown.
He has had a good night tonight. I mean, you look at this defense. Will Johnson's had a good night, and Alondra Johnson, Marvin Coleman. I'll tell you, we haven't even mentioned Darryl Hall's name, and he's probably been one of their best defensive players in the first 7 games of this season. We haven't even talked about him other than his fumble recovery. So, you know, you talk about a defense. They've only given up 18 points a game, and they're going to lower that maybe tonight. Points off turnovers. Does that tell a story?
Well, you think about some of the corners that they brought in Calgary. Junior Thurman was as good a cover guy as there was in the league for a while. Carl Anthony was in Calgary. This team has always been able to cover from the corners in.
Yeah, Al Jordan, you know, would fit that bill too. The other corner playing tonight.
Wally Buono was talking about that yesterday when I talked to him and said, you know, the cornerstone of a good defense starts with guys who can cover man-to-man on the outside. Once they can do that, you can do anything you want.
Well, I mean, you need to have it, obviously, in your package, because if you can't get pressure at times just with your front four or however you're going to play defense in the 3-4 alignment, you're going to have to bring extra people. And when you do that, you're going to have to play man-to-man, or it's going to be a tough way to play defense. And certainly all his defense has been able to, although they are a more zone-oriented defense than they are man-to-man. They still have the ability to play all those different schemes. That's what makes them so tough.
And Marvin Graves will come on for the Hamilton Ticats and see his first action, the former Toronto Argonaut quarterback.
I think he just got the short straw.
The kickoff is taken deep here. This is Matt Cody from the 15-yard line. Forced out of bounds at the 30. The good news for the Hamilton Ticats is it gets a lot easier from here. They get Edmonton, Toronto, Winnipeg, and Edmonton in the next 3 weeks. And Marvin Graves will come on, the former Toronto Argonaut, who is the leading passer in the history of Syracuse University. Highly touted coming out of Syracuse. And Larry Gistanis has a disappointing ending to his evening, and Matt Dunnigan tries to console him. 13 for 22 for a touchdown, 3 interceptions. Matt Dunnigan tries to console a young man that most people think will have a very bright future in the Canadian Football League. So now it's Marvin Graves' turn to face the heat. Lots of time, and he guns it up there for Andrew Grigg, but Grigg cannot make the catch, and that would have been his first catch of the year. Andrew Gregg from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Played junior football for that new Sault Ste. Marie junior franchise that started up a couple of
Too
years
many
ago.
men, Calgary.
That's a tough night for Larry Justanis. There are tears in those eyes tonight.
I think it's a tough night for Matt Dunnigan, too. I think he's probably sitting on a sideline. As competitive as his nature is, to see a 47-10 game when he knows he could clearly make an enormous difference and not to be in there. I think he's feeling a lot of pain right along with everybody else.
I don't know if there's anyone in Hamilton who isn't feeling pain these days. They've had more injuries tonight.
Well, and especially when optimism at the beginning of this year was so high.
Marvin Graves with the pass and the completion of Matt Cody, and Anthony McClanahan has lost his helmet and goes vaulting over the pile. The unmistakable blonde head of Anthony McClanahan out there.
He had the presence of mind not to drill his head into that pile up at the end, though.
A 30-yard pickup for Matt Cody, and Anthony McClanahan's lucky his head isn't still in that helmet. How about that? He just wanted to show off his new hairdo. Anthony just wanted everyone to see his new do.
They call him Hollywood McClanahan now, his teammates.
And he's a player. Oh, Wally Buono summed him up, said he is a football player, through and through.
You know what happened to him? I'm going to tell you a story after this play, because he was with the Dallas Cowboys at one time.
Now Graves, look out, here comes Will Johnson, and look out. Here comes McClanahan to finish him off. And now the helmet's off again. That thing's falling apart.
McClanahan was with the Dallas Cowboys a few years ago, and Jim Eddy, who was former coach, head coach of Saskatchewan Roughriders.
21, penalties declined.
Boy, there was holding on that play?
Telling me that when McClanahan was there, in all likelihood, he would have made the team. Eddy coaches the linebackers for the Cowboys now, but McClanahan had the same problem as Dunnigan. He had some concussion problems down there, missed some practice time, and he kind of just fell by the wayside. They never had a good read on him, and they couldn't take a chance on a young guy that hadn't proven himself. So they let him go. Calgary Stampeders got him, and I mean, you're right. This guy is a player.
Scored a touchdown already this year on a lateral from safety Greg Knox. Now Graves up over the middle and incomplete. He was looking there for Matt Cody.
And Matt Cody could have gotten from 5'9" down to about 5'4" had he gone up for that ball. They were zeroed in on him.
And he was out last week with an injury, and I don't think in a 47-10 game he's going to go taking any chances. And Matt Cody has been a great addition to the Hamilton Ticat team. And this is going to be a frustrating night. You know, the Hamilton Ticats will lose their 4th in 5 weeks. They started so well, and now they just got to try to get people healthy.
Well, that's what I was saying. You know, optimism. The first few weeks of this season, Grey Cup is going to be hosted here in Hamilton. They felt like they had a team that certainly could compete and maybe have a chance to be there. And all of a sudden, in a month's time, this whole situation is unraveled.
Ball is Bolliston. Gets the kick away, goes down again. There's no flag. And Marvin Coleman, who was shaken up earlier, gets out across the 15 to the 16-yard line. And now we got some fighting happening on the field, and we got too many players out there. And George Black and company will sort this out and try to cool them off. 7:55 to go in the 4th quarter. Calgary leading by a bunch. Well, the Hamilton defense dug into the first half and kept this team in the football game, but just too many holes in the dam here in the second half, and they couldn't plug them all.
Listen, I mean, you know, you can't make excuses. This is a superior Calgary football team that's well coached, it's well oiled. They don't make mistakes against a team that is struggling right now.
And Danny Barrett at the controls right now for the Stampeders in his 3rd time around with the Stamp. And throws it out there and completes it there to Kevin Reed. That's his first catch of the year, and Kevin Reed will be delighted about that. He is from not far from here, Stony Creek, a stone's throw from Iverwood Stadium, and he's got tons of friends and family here tonight.
Yeah, he's pretty happy with that catch. Smile going back. He's saying, thanks, Daddy, for doing that for me.
Yeah, that's right.
Mom and Dad here, thanks very much. The holder now.
Yeah, and there's a few Hamilton connections with this team. Rocco Romano, the left guard, a Hamilton native, and had a big feast last night for the guys. That's all you need. Hey, a bunch of the offensive linemen coming over to your house to eat.
It's an expensive night.
That's right. There won't be a crumb left after that one.
Oh, you need a big house first.
That's right. That's right. First of all, you need a big door. Then you need a big table. Then you need big plates.
Big food.
You know, the guys the Calgary offensive linemen play bocce ball before every game.
Right.
You know, it's like Italian lawn bowling, the big heavy balls they use. And the equipment manager, George Hopkins, has to drag those things to every game. He says, what, they couldn't play badminton or something? What's next, 10-pin bowling?
They've been doing that. That's a ritual with them. They've been doing that for probably 4 or 5 years.
Well, they used to play fat man football, but too many guys were getting hurt. 2nd and 10 for Danny Barrett and the Calgary offense. And Kelvin Anderson dives straight ahead. Pardon me, 2nd and a couple. And we mentioned it earlier, but it bears repeating. Oh, look at this. I mean, the Edmonton Eskimos are playing defense as well as anybody. The Toronto Argonauts are playing offense as well as anybody. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers are on a roll, and then you get Edmonton again.
Tough schedule.
Don knew there would be days like this.
I didn't think he thought they'd be this year, though.
No, I really think, and you know, there's a lot of ifs here, but I mean, if Dunnigan comes back healthy to get a couple of people, this is still a team that can contend. This is a team that beat Toronto in a very good football game earlier this year. Now Danny Barrett up over the top, has a man and can't get it to him, and Dave Sapunjas was almost there to make the catch. Well, it was a very close football game in the early stages, and then it just kind of got away. It was 7-3 Calgary at the end of the first quarter. And then 20-10, and then look out, 27 points in the second half for the Calgary Stampeders.
Well, it was the third quarter that really did it. You know, I mean, you're 20-10 at halftime. Hey, you've got a shot at winning a football game still. But that third quarter was an awful start to the third quarter. The turnover on the opening kickoff by Hamilton, and then it just went downhill from there.
Going to put you on the spot here. Who's better right now, Calgary or Toronto?
Ooh, that is a tough one. That's a good question. Let me think about it just for a second.
Okay.
I got to see how I'm going to get off the fence on this one.
Bernard Holmes makes the catch from Danny Barrett, slides his way ahead to the 30-yard line. So what's the answer?
Well, being totally honest, I would rate both offenses equal at this point, but where I think the edge after what I've seen tonight falls with the Calgary defense. I think Calgary's defense may have a slight edge right now, but I'm sure that game, and I believe it's September 21st, is going to be an awesome game between these two teams. A lot of motion.
Well, this is interesting. You know, heading into this game, Calgary was the best defense against the run, second most quarterback sacks, led the league in interceptions. Yeah. Toronto and Calgary take turns leading the offensive and defensive categories. Throw Edmonton in there on defense as well. And it's a pretty interesting matchup.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you call special teams even. I mean, you know, some people may argue this point, justifiably so. I'll call the offenses even, but I clearly think Calgary's defense has shown that they are a pretty solid bunch right now and deserve to be ranked a little higher than Toronto's.
Flags fly before Tony Martino can punt it away. Yes, Saturday, September 21st, Toronto plays Calgary, and then the return match is October 14th at McMahon Stadium.
Procedure.
And I say
Calgary
that because I
88.
think when you analyze, you know, positions by positions, front four, you know, let's say, you know, maybe Calgary and Toronto, they're both good front fours. But linebacking is clearly an advantage for Calgary, and I think their secondary probably is slightly ahead of Toronto's.
And it's interesting, too, that those games will feature last year's Grey Cup head coaches. Don Matthews and Wally Buono have had some great head-to-head battles over the year. Poor Tony Martino, the forgotten man in Calgary, has to put it away again. They get worn out here. This is, what, 2 punts in this half. Low driving kick. Matt Cody fields it from his own 52-yard line. Matt Cody trying to get outside. And now trying to move it back inside. And there's nothing but trouble there as he gets down to the Calgary 52-yard line and takes some unnecessary abuse along the way. Back with more from Ivor Wynn right after this.
CFL Live on TSN. Brought to you in part by Diet Pepsi. Diet Pepsi has no diet aftertaste. And by the Alliance of Canada's only full-service telecommunications companies, proud sponsors of the Canadian Olympic team.
Welcome back to Ivor Wynn Stadium in Hamilton, where Marvin Graves faces this ferocious Calgary defense. Stands in there on first down, guns it, has it tipped up by Raymond Biggs, and almost intercepted. Raymond Biggs now in there for the Calgary Stampeders, a Toronto native who played at New Mexico State University.
He's a good one, too. He's just playing on the wrong team. It's kind of tough when you got Anthony McClanahan, Alondra Johnson, and Darryl Hall, but anytime that Ray Biggs has had some playing time throughout his career, he's always played well. And you know, it's the same old story. The good teams, you know, all their backup position players are always pretty good, too. Could probably start for a lot of other clubs.
Takes patience to be a Calgary Stampeder backup, doesn't it?
I'll tell you what.
If you know you could be playing for someone else.
It is truly like that in that city.
Second down. Oh, great slipped. Did they bring back that painted tie cap they used to have years ago that everyone used to fall on? Marvin Graves just flat out slipped. And Rodney Harding will get credit for the sack. And they won't come much easier than that. And now Don Sutherland has officially seen it all.
Well, you know, you go back to the beginning of this game, you know, could they run the football? Well, no, I don't think we thought they could. We said they may have to win this game. And
so how have they done?
Protect the quarterback. I would say they have a D- on that one.
Well, they've allowed 6 quarterback sacks to Calgary, and they've been held to 22 yards rushing. That's the problem.
I say they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
What was the grade you gave them?
I gave them a D- on pass protection.
And now Paul Osbaldiston will punt.
Larry Justanis may give them an E.
Good kick by Osbaldiston. Drives Terry Vaughn back to the 13-yard line. And Vaughn is dragged down quickly at the 13. Stopped by Justin Ring. A 49-yard punt and a return of 3. Well, tomorrow, the Edmonton Eskimos and Saskatchewan Roughriders from Commonwealth Stadium at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 Eastern. Danny McManus and the Eskimos face the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Yeah, the Saskatchewan Roughriders won their last meeting in Saskatchewan when they really needed a victory. They came up and played very well. And see if they can. Although the Commonwealth Stadium's kind of been a ghost town for the Riders over the years.
Well, the funny thing about it is Saskatchewan gives Ron Lancaster more trouble than any other team in the league. Think back to his first game as the coach of the Edmonton Eskimos, and Albert Brown returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. Danny Barrett firing it over there for Alan Pitts, and Kevin Gaines drops his head. Looks like pass interference will be the call. And Alan Pitts draws a lot of attention, apparently too much here.
Well, good move. I mean, he gets Gaines turned just enough. Gaines trying to fight through the football. Again, that's the problem. Pitts is so big. I mean, he's a tough guy to go around, and sometimes you have to try and go through him, and you create that contact.
And now the Stamps have it at their own 38-yard line. Kenton Leonard looking on.
Boy, he's had a couple of big hits on the halfback hammer blitzes tonight.
Hammer with a capital H tonight. Oh, look out, Kelvin Anderson, and we're off to the rodeo. Mike Campbell. Did he stay on for 8 seconds, though, Lee? That's the question.
I don't think the whistle went.
He had the one hand in the air, though.
Well, they ran the counter, and he just followed the tackle in behind him. And
here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think he quite got there. I think Kelvin threw him at the last second. So now 2nd and 13. And Danny Barrett in the shotgun. Here comes the blitz. Danny Barrett stands in there and looks for Dave Sapunjas off his hands and incomplete. And we have reached the 3-minute warning at Ivor Wynne Stadium. Hamilton with a 47-10 lead, and we'll be back with more on the CFL Live right after this. Time now for the Radically Canadian Players of the Game, brought to you by Corral. Well, was there any question for the Calgary defense? Alondra Johnson has been all over the football field tonight, chasing Larry Justanis from one side of the field to the other and delivering punishing hits. And offensively, Alan Pitts with a pretty good night for Calgary, 127 yards and a touchdown, and another one that should have been, by most accounts, although there is divided opinion on the CFL Live crew about that.
And I support you 100%.
Will ya?
It was a catch.
So if Les and I get into a fight, you'll back me up?
I'll watch, but I'm on your side.
You'll be behind me, about 20 yards behind. Tony Martino is on to punt again. Earl Winfield and Sam Rogers are back deep to receive. Too many turnovers against too good a football team in the second half. And Martino gets a pretty good kick away. Bounces up around the 40-yard line. Sam Rogers boots it and manages to get it back up at the 40-yard line. So Jeff Garcia over on the Calgary sideline sits back, enjoys a good night. 22 of 32 for 330 yards. 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And for Jeff Garcia and the Calgary Stampeders,
Calgary
BC at
29,
home on a short
first
week.
down.
Then the back-to-back against the Edmonton Eskimos. And that's when the Calgary Stampeders will truly measure their football team. You haven't really had a good year until you've beaten Edmonton.
And although they're playing BC, who are 1-7, it's still a very difficult team to prepare for, certainly on a short week, too, because their defense does so many different things, different looks, different people blitzing, and probably some new personnel after their loss again last night. So, I mean, you say on paper it's going to be an easy game, but it won't be.
Marcus Grant with the catch, and Marvin Coleman works quickly on him, limiting the gain to about 7 yards.
You know, we're comparing defenses around the league. One of the things you have to admire about Calgary's secondary, how quickly they close on the football. I mean, the catch is made, but instantly the hit comes from Marvin Coleman, and all those 5 people back in the secondary can give you that kind of performance.
And Raymond Biggs seeing some playing time in the second half for Calgary. Graves from the shotgun wants the out and up, looking deep for Earl Winfield. That ball will bring rain. And Earl Winfield working on Eddie Davis, and they both watch it hit the turf. Andre Johnson broke into the CFL with BC.
What's up, Calgary? Be home late.
One of those guys.
Really?
Yeah, they go home tonight. They get home about 3 o'clock in the morning. But he's one of those guys the NFL computers spit out. You know, he's 5'11", 229. He's not the kind of linebacker they wanted. Well, I'll tell you what. He's the kind of linebacker who can play anywhere.
Well, and that's a good point. You know, I talked to Marvin Pope. He was a free agent. He went to the San Francisco 49ers, and he was cut and came back to Calgary. But he said, I did not even get a chance to play in practices.
Yeah.
That's how tough it is. If they don't think you're exactly the right dimension, or, you don't even get a shot in practice. And Pope said he was very discouraged by all of that.
Anthony McClanahan with another sack and some celebration. 2:12 to go. Sean Fleming was saying the same thing in Edmonton, telling teammates when he tried out for Washington that he never got within 50 yards of the head coach, Norv Turner.
Well, I mean, that's what Pope said. He said, I knew from day one that I was not going to make it because I couldn't. He said I was getting 2 and 3 plays per practice. So,
well, you know what's interesting, too, is
there he is.
You make the point about the difference between the Canadian Football League and the NFL, that there's room in the CFL for the smaller linebacker who can run, and there's just no room for him in the NFL. And to the CFL's credit, those players are exciting football players.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
I mean, a guy like Marvin Pope is a great football player.
You know, you talk about Marvin Pope in San Francisco, it looks as though, and he was telling me tonight, confirming that, David Benefield, who was with the BC Lions last year, and Eric Carter, who was with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, are both there and have a very good opportunity to stay with the team. Maybe not as starters, but certainly Benefield on special teams and Eric Carter maybe on the reserve practice.
Well, the big concern for the Calgary Stampeders is, will their quarterback bolt at the end of the year? There's been rumbles in Calgary that Jeff Garcia might give it a try with San Francisco. He went to their mini camp this year, but I think most believe that Jeff Garcia will remain in Calgary.
Well, I think he is marginal, and again, the point you make about physical characteristics, I just don't think, he's big enough. Although he is 6'1", he sure doesn't look 6'1".
Danny Barrett up and throwing and looking for Dave Sapungis. It falls incomplete. Well, I guess, the thing is, it's not like one is better or worse. They're just different. There's just different players that play in the 2 leagues.
Absolutely, but you look at Garcia listed at 6'1". To me, on the field, and this is kind of a redundant comment, but he does, he's a short 6'1". He doesn't have a big presence out there, and the NFL certainly is to someone of that nature.
Who's the best quarterback in the National Football League? Well, if it's Troy Aikman, would he be a good CFL quarterback? Maybe not. He may not be mobile enough to play out there.
Oh, I don't think he is.
I mean, there's obviously good quarterbacks down there, and there's a lot of great players, but it's just a different game.
We're not comparing apples to apples here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a league that they want to flush the quarterback out of the pocket. This is a league where you want to contain the quarterback and keep him in the pocket. I mean, it's a whole different philosophy.
Martino will punt again. Earl Winfield is back there with Sam Rogers. Rogers hangs on this time, tries the corner, and won't find much there. Gets thrown down quickly by Vince Danielson, a special teams tackle by Vince Danielson. And that's how you work your way up the Calgary ladder. Think about Dave Sapungis. In his second year with Calgary, he led the team in special teams tackles. 2 years later, he
true.
led the team in receiving. You make your bones with Calgary playing on teams.
Well, you look at Mike Kerrigan in his first night as the co-offensive coordinator with the man to his right, offensive line coach John Salavantis, and I honestly think, I mean, everybody wants to go in and win games and all this and that, and I don't think, if they were honest about their expectations tonight, they hoped that they would win, but obviously I don't think that they really had a shot in this game. And it's a tough way to start. The personnel isn't quite there for this team right now. And not only because of injury, because of the way this team was structured at the beginning of the year. I mean, you can't go through 8 weeks and all of a sudden change your whole philosophy and expect to have the right people.
And we talked about the injury problems for the Ticats, and now there'll be a couple of personnel changes. Not much doubt that Hamilton will look to go to an offense that has a true fullback.
Well, I think they're going to have to find a way to work that into the ratio, So where can we, play a Canadian that maybe we can get an American fullback?
Whoa, look out. Marvin Graves unloads, completes it out there to Jason Phillips, who takes the abuse but gets the first down up at the 25-yard line. But look at the Hamilton Ticats. They got a running back in Ted Long, who has only carried the ball 3 times in 2 years in the CFL.
He's not a running back. He's in Birmingham he was called a super back, and here he's a 5th receiver. So
yeah, there's not much doubt about that.
And last time I checked, there weren't too many great Canadian fullbacks out there available, so it's going to have to be an import.
Now Graves throws it right in the hole, and Jason Phillips has the catch again. So some on-the-job training for Marvin Graves. He has the completion up to the 50-yard line with less than a minute to go here in the 4th quarter. Jason Phillips has touchdown catches in each of his last 3 games. But a streak that will end tonight. And now Marvin Graves will remain in the shotgun. First down from his own 50. Here come the Stamps, the blitz. Graves gets it away, completes it out there to Earl Winfield, and Winfield has the first down as he gets down to the 46-yard line with 53 seconds to go in the football game. Hamilton will drop to 4-4 on the season, even with the Montreal Alouettes. Toronto is 7-1 on the year. And remember this, if the 3rd place team in the East has a worse record than the 4th place team in the West, the 4th place team in the West gets in. Now right now Saskatchewan's 2-5. Hamilton is 4-4, along with Montreal. I always have a hard time explaining that. Look out, Marvin Graves is sacked. Stu Laird gets his 2nd of the game, his 3rd of the year, the 8th quarterback sack by the Calgary Stampeders tonight.
And this was a team that came into this game with 23, leading the league, so put them now at 31 and clearly well out in front of any other club in putting pressure and sacking quarterbacks. Stu Laird's made some key plays tonight. Nice sack there, and I look back to the play he made against the option. Often it's such a difficult play to make because you never really make the right play, but he did on that occasion. And again, he took the back, and Larry Justanis took the hit.
Now Graves wants to go deep again, and look out. He was looking there for Andrew Gregg, who almost got low-bridged. John Agnews Charles, number 21, into the game in his first year out of Michigan, Montreal native. Almost lowered the boom on him. By the way, the record for quarterback sacks in one game is 13 by Edmonton against the Toronto Argonauts back in 1993. And that can't be good for you.
That was the year Toronto gave up around 90 sacks on the season. It was just an unbelievable total.
Marvin Graves got hit at the end of that play as well and wants to go deep again. The out and up, and he got whacked again, gets away, and look out. He might just be prolonging the agony here. Still running. Marvin Graves gets away from Will Johnson, and finally run down McClanahan and Wayne Drinkwalter get there. It won't be a sack as he crossed the line of scrimmage. Marvin Graves takes some abuse at the end of that play.
Bob Abilovich and I discussed this in the studio last night off camera about Marvin Graves, that really we both felt that he was never the same since he had his back injury and consequent surgery, but it didn't look like there were any back problems there, as he covered a lot of ground just to take some more punishment from Wayne Drinkwalter and company.
Well, the quarterback meetings must be just ice bags and a projector, huh? They just sit in the hot tub and watch the film from there.
You know, that montage we put together of the Justanis hits tonight really shows you, what a quarterback goes through in a game. I mean, it can be just brutal, and it was for both these Hamilton quarterbacks tonight.
And Calgary will run the remaining time off the clock. The Stampeders will improve their record to 7-1 in the season. The Ticats will fall to 4-3 and hope they can patch up enough people to get healthy for a run in mid-season. This is a good football team in Hamilton. It's just very injured. This will be the final play of the football game. It was 20-10 at the half. And Calgary scores 27 points in the second, wins it 47-10.